Story time of when I ignored every red flag and still went on the date. Because I was traveling and wanted someone local to explore with, I agreed to go on a last minute date. That was red flag number 1. He offered to take me out for burgers and drinks. I said yes, and when I gave him my address, I was 15 minutes away. He asked me for gas money. That was red flag number 2. I laughed it off, did not send him money, and he still decided to come. He didn't open the car door for me or wait outside the car, but I wasn't even surprised. On our way, he parked in like a random alleyway and told me that him and his friends were wondering if were real. I told him it was a rude question to ask, and he verbatim went, "No, I don't think so." That's number 3. We got to the bar, he got me a drink, we had decent conversation, whatever. Our drinks are empty, I'm getting really hungry, and he starts insinuating I buy him a drink, which absolutely not, this is the date. After 10 minutes, I suggested he can get a second round of drinks if he wants more, because at this point, we're just like sitting drinks empty at a bar, which is kind of strange, and he just makes this weird, prolonged noise, hoping that like, I forget I ever said anything. That was some kind of red flag number 4. With my drink empty, he starts showing me a hot dog eating competition he won 6 years ago. Like, we're both sober for this. I forgot to mention he also played Pokemon Go, which I didn't mind. It was kind of fun, but a strange time to play it. Anyways, I asked if we get burgers, and he said McDonald's was right across the street. Red flag number 5. I was so hungry, I said yes. McDonald's was closed. So rather than going elsewhere, he decided to take me to the city viewpoint, which I can only assume is his version of being romantic and trying to get me alone. He puts on One Direction karaoke and starts singing, no, serenading me. Bro, I just wanted to go home, and I was trying to navigate the situation to keep myself safe and not piss him off. When we get home, I'm in the passenger seat facing forward like this, and he's like this in the driver's seat. Like if I move my face, we're kissing. I'm ignoring his body language, and I even told him before that I don't generally kiss on a first date. He asked to kiss me, and I think of the only thing I can say to get out of it. I asked him my name. He couldn't say it, and I took that as my cue to leave. So naturally, he starts yelling in front of the whole neighborhood, purely because I wouldn't kiss him. Lastly, this man was a stand-up comedian, which is red flag number 7, so I guess we're both sharing the story.
So this guy asked me on a date, and when I tell you he was hot, like, I mean he was hot. Tall, blue eyes, brown hair, literally exactly my type. So of course I said yes. I mean, I was excited. So anyways, he was like, let's go see a movie. And I know what you're thinking, because I was thinking the same thing. Like a movie on the first date, like how we're supposed to get to know each other. Plus that's kind of sketch, because we all know why boys want to go see movies with girls. But me being stupid, I was like, okay, sounds great. Plus, I mean, this guy was so cute and he seemed like he was just my type. So I was honestly willing to do anything at this point. Fast forward, it's the day of the date, and I text him and I'm like, hey, are you picking me up or are we meeting there? Honestly, kind of hoping that he would pick me up, because I mean, like, that's what, you know, guys should do. And he responded and was like, no, like, you can just meet me there. So I got my car and I drove half an hour to the movie theater that he wanted to go to because it was closer to his house. And again, me being stupid. So I drive to the movie theater and I get there at 11:15 a.m., which was so weird. Like, we saw it in the morning. So I got there at 11:15 a.m., which is right when we said we were going to meet each other. So I'm just kind of sitting in my car in the parking lot, like waiting for him to show up because I didn't know what kind of car he drove. About 15 minutes pass and there's still like no sign of this kid. So I text him, call him, no response. At this point, the movie is about to start and I'm still just waiting in this parking lot all by myself. I definitely should have just left, but like I said, this guy was really hot and I wasn't about to miss out. Finally, I get a text and it says, I'm running late, be there in 5 minutes. 15 minutes later, he finally shows up and the movie has already started. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, he looked like crap. Like, he looked like he literally had just rolled out of bed. We go into the movie theater and he has me pay for my own ticket, which was kind of a red flag. And we go into the movie and it's a 3-hour movie about cars. And luckily it was already about 20 minutes into the movie, so I didn't have to sit there for the full 3 hours. And like, I was clearly pissed off at this point, but this boy started to try to make moves on me in the movie theater. I was so not having it. So finally the movie ended and he like tried to hug me goodbye and I just dodged the hug, got in my car and never spoke to him again. But funny thing, he still tries to hit me up to this day.
Last night I had such a bad date. I'm like kind of scared for my life because this guy's kind of psycho. So I met this guy on Hinge. It always starts with Hinge. He picked this like sushi restaurant. He wanted to go get sushi. I mean, he asked me what type of food I like. I told him I'm pretty much open-minded, just pick anything. And so like everything was fine, but he would kind of give me like subtle flags that he had like a small temper. Like he would get like mad over like little things, like just waiting 5 seconds for the valet person to get the car. But I'm a nice person. I'm a nice girl. I like to see the best in people. So I kind of like ignore those stuff. Big fucking mistake. So at the beginning of the day, he proceeds to say that he has never done anything like this for a woman. He said that he had to drive all the way from Beverly Hills to downtown, and he's never done that. And he's never taken out a woman on a date. So I'm like, what type of women have you been dating then? Like, so when we finished our food, he asked me what I wanted to do after. And I was like, oh, whatever you want. We can go to like a bar, we can go to a club, whatever. So guess what he suggested? He said, since you have a luxury apartment, why don't we go back to your place? And I told him, absolutely not. I don't know you. I don't take people back to my place. Sorry. Respectfully. I said that very respectfully. And he got mad. He kept asking me why. Why can't I go to your place? Why can't I, there's no reason. Like, why is the reason? The reason is stupid. Kept saying because I didn't have a valid reason as to why I didn't want to let him into my apartment, that I had to let him in my apartment. At that point, I excused myself to go to the restroom. I was going to leave the date. But, me as a nice person, I was like, you know what? Maybe I don't know. I'm very nice. I should have fucking left because when I came back, he asked me to split the bill, which threw me off because you suggested to go out with me. You took me on a date. Now you're asking me to pay half because I didn't let you go into my apartment because you didn't get lucky. I grabbed the check. I told the waiter, he's weird. I'm leaving. Charge his card. I'm gone. This man proceeded to chase me down and hold me back and started calling me Mexican trash and broke Mexican. I don't know. He started calling me all these racial slurs. I literally left on a scooter and he started texting me all this crazy shit. I blocked him. He started calling me on unknown numbers. He starts like spamming my Instagram with comments and just disrespectful shit. Literally had to email Hinge and show Hinge all the email threads, everything. I screenshot everything. Like, I am worried I have a stalker now and could kill me because he knows where I live. Men worry about getting finessed on a date out of a meal, but women worry about literally getting killed.
Hi, my name is Taylor, and I'm going to tell you about one of my Tinder horror stories. So anyway, I was 18 and I had just kind of gotten on Tinder, and I was talking to this guy. I talked for a while and he was like, do you want to go out for drinks? And I was like, sure, sounds good. Go to this drink place. I get there first. He says he's approaching me. I look up. The man that is approaching me looks nothing like his pictures, like vaguely, but also not really at all. So he also looked way, way older than what he looked like. And I was like, oh, red flag. Anyway, get to the date and it was horrible. We were talking and it was so awkward. We had almost nothing in common. The conversation wasn't flowing. It was noticeably awkward for both of us. And I was 18. I didn't know any better. I should have just gotten up and said, hey, I'm going to go now. But I was kind of just dropping vague hints like, okay, well, it's getting late. I should go. And he'd be like, no, let me buy you another drink. So I stayed. Anyway, gets towards the end of the night, I go to leave and he was like, oh, do you want to go for a walk on the boardwalk? Because we were on a beach. And I should have said no, but I did. And I went for a walk and it was still noticeably awkward at this point. Anyway, we're walking and Mans goes to grab my hand, and anybody who knows me, even at the age of 18, gross. I don't like it. So he goes to do that. I pulled my hand away and it was really awkward. And I was like, oh, don't do that, please. And we're walking and we get to the end of this boardwalk area and Mans turns to me and goes to kiss me. And I was like, no. And I dodged it and it was so awkward. And I'm pretty sure I was like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. Went to the bathroom, text my best friend everything that was happening. She was like, you gotta get out of there. Anyway, go back out and I was like, yo, my best friend's dying. I have to go home right now. And he was like, okay, well, let me drive you home. And I should have said no, but I was like, after a bit of arguing, he ended up taking me home, get in his car. I get into his fucking passenger seat and I look at the door and I'm like, brethren, where is your door handle? And he was like, oh, sorry, this car only opens from the outside. And I was like, you could have told me that before I got in your car. Anyway, it drops me off. Get out the car, goes in for another kiss, and I was like, dude, don't. Anyway, I go back inside. Mans has the audacity. He texts me when I get inside. He was like, hey, Taylor, look, it was really fun hanging out with you, but I think I think this isn't going to work out between us. I think you're a fun girl, but I think, I don't think you're right for me. So we're just going to leave it there. And I was like, okay, that's fine. That's fine. If that's the call that you want to make, sure thing, broski. And then I went inside, and now I know how to leave dates that I don't want to be on anymore.
I want to tell you about one of the worst dates I ever went on. I see so many people doing these videos, and I thought it was about time I told you guys about my dating horror stories. This was when I was like 19, and I was actually living in the Philippines. Shout out to the Philippines. I love the Philippines. I lived there for a long time. I was a 19-year-old girl. I was young and innocent, and I was on Tinder, and I matched with this guy, and he looked really cute. He was British, so I was like, absolutely yes, give me some of that. He looked pretty cute in photos. The photos were kind of filtered though, which is such an ick now that I think about it. And also he didn't really have any photos like standing up, and he mostly like showed off his tattoos. Like all of his photos were of his tattoos, which should have been red flag number one. He had like a tattoo sleeve that he was clearly obsessed with, but I didn't really think anything of it. I thought it was hot, so I was like, okay, that's fine. We matched and we agreed to meet at a restaurant. So I was always late. Always. I'm still late to everything, but I was always like hella late. So I showed up a little bit late. He was already at the restaurant, and when I get there, he looks like the photo, so I'm like, okay, I didn't get catfished. He looks fine. Little did I know. So I just got to the restaurant, and I'm standing there, and he didn't get up to greet me, which I thought was a little bit weird. I was like, okay, right off the bat, like, he's not the biggest gentleman. That's kind of a turn off. But yeah, he didn't get up to say hi to me or anything. He was just like, oh hey, whatever. He was like nice, but didn't get up, and I was like, that's rude. We order some food, we sit there, we chat. Right off the bat, honestly, he was not my vibe. He was just like he just talked about his tattoos the whole time. Like, my man, I can see you have tattoos. That's enough. Like, that's all he wanted to talk about, like, the whole time. And it was the classic, like, a big ass lion and a clock and a rose and stuff, and I'm like, oh my god. So the whole time he talked about his tattoos. He wasn't a gentleman. I don't know, I wasn't really liking him that much. We weren't really vibing. His personality wasn't the best. Like, his personality was just his sleeve tattoo. That was all he had to offer, really. But I still try to like talk to him and be friendly, and it was fine. But I noticed that he hadn't gotten up for like, not even for the bathroom, for nothing, for 2 hours. And so finally we get the bill and everything, and I'm like, okay, I'm probably not gonna see this guy again, because I'm not really vibing with him. Get the bill, we get our things, and we are leaving, and I get up, and then I see that he gets up, and I'm just like,
I went on a horrible date tonight, but the worst thing about it happened afterwards. So I'm on the date. The guy's kind of odd. We're just not clicking. He keeps just like talking over me very loud. Every time I would say something about like what I do for work, he would like explain to me why the things that I do are hard, and that it must be so hard for me to run a business as a woman like myself. He's like, that must be so hard for you, like running your own, like running a business all by yourself. Like, you must be exhausted. And I'm like, I'm okay. I'm not the one complaining here. It was just very odd. So he just like, I would say like, oh yeah, I have to manage my own website, social media, and he'd be like, well, that's so hard because like you have to get the social media to get it to your website. And I was like, I know. Anyway, besides the point, that's why the date was bad. So about 2/3 of the way through the date, he goes to the bathroom, and while he was in the bathroom, we were at a place that I like knew the servers. So our server stopped by and said like, oh, how's it going? And I was like, honestly, like, not great. I don't know. And then she was like, oh, do you want me to bring the check? And I was like, yeah, when you get a chance, that'd be great. Then she walks away. Short little conversation of how's it going? I say not great. She asks for the check. I say sure. He comes back. She brings the check. She says together or separate. I say separate. He says together, insists on paying. I say okay. We wrap up the date. We leave. And then as soon as I get home, I get a message from him that says, a catfish and late for the date. Wow, Cassie, good luck. Huh? And I said, mind you, I was 2 minutes late for the date. The date was at 7:30. I got there at 7:32, and I texted him like, hey, I'm running a little bit late. So that's a little bit of an overreaction. The catfish part, I said, catfish? Like, you feel like I catfished you? And he said, yeah, catfish, ... as I was walking to my car from the date, a guy that was at a neighboring table pulled up next to me and told me that you were talking smack about me while I was in the bathroom. Huh? One, wasn't talking smack. The waitress asked how it was going. Wasn't going well. Answered honestly. 2, why was that guy listening? And 3, why would he tell him that? Like, that's terrible. Like, why would you tell the guy that? So weird. Anyway, and so I'm like, that's not catfishing, first of all. Like, I don't know what you think that is. And I was like, huh? Anyway, I was like, sorry, I don't think that's what happened, but I'm sorry if you're upset. And he just kept going off on me, and finally we just unmatched. I was like, this is terrible.
This is a person that I love. This is a person that I trust. This is the person that every time I would cry over my stalker, every time I would say, God, like, I'm just so tired. I'm so exhausted. I'm so tired of this person. Why won't they leave me alone? And to find out that it's him the whole time. We get to the airport, I get out the car, and I said, I know it's you. I know it's you that's been stalking me the whole time. You and your best friend. I know it's you. And he just sat there dumbfounded, just silent.
Yeah, got you, bitch.
Hi ladies, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to this channel, my name is Miss Kafu. So ladies, in this video, we'll be hearing the craziest stalker stories you've ever had. Have you ever had a stalker? Do you have a scary stalker story? If you have a scary stalker story, please comment down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear your story. So anyway, ladies, let me stop rambling too much. Let's jump right into this video, and then I'll be back to give my take on this one. But ladies, before we jump into this video, I just wanted to tell you, whatever you do, don't fail to watch the whole of this video. The last 2 stories are very, very interesting. Ladies, don't fail to watch the last 2 stories, whatever you do. Anyway, ladies, let's jump right in.
My first encounter with this man was about a month ago. Me and my husband and my son, we walked to McDonald's like we usually do. We get there and me and my son, we sit down at a table and my husband leaves to go order our food. A man approaches us and he starts up a conversation. He says, "Oh, I've seen you eating at the Ronald McDonald House." And then all of a sudden his demeanor kind of switched and he started asking, "Where's the man?" And I was confused and he just kept repeating himself, "Where's the man?" So I said, "My husband," and he just said, "Where's the man?" The man started slowly backing up. Yes, like backing up. It wasn't until the next day that I saw him in the window. And that's when I realized that this man does not stay here. And it kind of clicked to me that I'm not sure how long he had been watching me before that run-in at McDonald's, because he said he had seen me eating and he had watched me enough to recognize me. And I'm pretty sure I was followed to McDonald's as well. Since then, I have seen him lurking around whenever I walk to and from the hospital visiting my daughter. He hasn't tried to speak to me since until yesterday, last night, when he put his face up to the window again and motioned for me to come outside. 2 detectives came to talk to me about 2 days ago. They had been looking for this man and checking social media to see if they could maybe determine his whereabouts, and that's when they came across my video. They identified that the man in my video is the same man that they are currently investigating.
I'm gonna find you here one day.
Alright, can you please leave me alone now?
You're really nice.
The first sign that I was being stalked is when he sent to a Facebook account that I had never shared with him detailed fantasies about me. I don't want to talk to you.
You want to email?
No.
I was just gonna be in Dallas for a little bit. I was gonna go back to Austin.
No.
He's really nice. Like, I saw him.
Thanks so much.
Like, looking at me through the window. He's really nice.
Alright, can you please leave me alone now? It is only the first sign that I was being stalked. That is not the first time I realized that I was being stalked. It took him popping up in the darkness in my apartment complex's laundromat at 1 a.m. He was hiding behind a washing machine, so I couldn't see him when I walked in, particularly because he turned off the lights. And when I turned on the lights, he stood up, and there he was. And I think I was there for like 30 minutes talking to him, trying to placate him, and eventually offering to give him my email so we could keep in contact, because my instincts told me he was not going away until he got what he wanted. That was the first time I took it seriously.
Oh
my god, do y'all remember a couple months ago there was this girl who went viral on TikTok basically for crying about how she hates her 9-to-5 job and about how you can't really live off of a 9-to-5 job in America anymore? Well, I just saw her on my For You page again, and this girl was telling a story about how she got an online stalker from that one viral TikTok. He found out where she lived, what her full name was, what her phone number was, what her parents' phone number was. He started contacting her friends. He started contacting her friends' parents. He started sending her pictures of dismembered women, asking her if she wants to meet up with him. She's literally talking about this on her TikTok because she's like, I don't know what to do anymore. It's gone on for months and the police aren't doing anything. I am terrified for her. I'm terrified for her because this is exactly what happens right before a woman ends up dismembered. God forbid. I'm not trying to speak that into existence. May God keep her safe and happy and protected and keep all evil and harm away from her. But y'all, that is so insane how a viral video can make your life transpire into a literal horror story if you're not careful enough. He found out where she worked too, and he would call her every single time she blocked him. He would call her from another number. He said that he was going to drop a BOMB off to her house. That's not even all of it. That's not even all of it. I can't even summarize it because it was literally horrific. She said that after she made that initial TikTok video, a bunch of women DM'd her saying that they were going through the same thing. And y'all, I want to tell you right now, it is not normal if you have an online stalker and the police are not doing anything about it. You gotta get the FBI involved. You gotta get somebody of a higher ranking or a higher power involved. And then also, if you work from home, great, but if you don't work from home, start getting a friend to pick you up and drop you off at work, or call an Uber every time and share your locations with your friends, okay? Please share your locations with your friends because this world is crazy and it's full of men who will literally stop at nothing to ruin your life. Please stay safe. And again, I really hope this situation is resolved quickly for this girl because that is just literally insane.
I had a married man with 4 kids stalk me for almost a year. Hopefully me telling this story will help every woman know that they should just always be aware of their surroundings. I work in TV. My first job out of college was in Nebraska. I moved to Nebraska to cover college and high school sports for $9 an hour. The TV business is really hard to break into. I need to get experience. I was working at a very small station. It's not abnormal in small towns for viewers to feel very connected to their local news people. So it wasn't weird to receive emails from viewers. One day I open my email, there is a message from a viewer saying he loves my delivery of sports every night. Rule was you just said thank you and moved along with your day. That's exactly what I did. For the next 3 nights, he was messaging me every day telling me what he liked in the sportscast. One night, I see I have an email from him. I think it's the usual thing, but I open it and there are 4 nude pictures of him inside. And a very descriptive, explicit email explaining what he wanted to do to me. And these photos were like him in his shower. Like this. It's just weird. I take the email to my news director, and he was basically like, there's not a whole lot we can do. Just block the sender via email. So I block him. Next thing I know, a day later, he adds me on Snapchat. I don't know how he found me, but he did. Sending me more photos, more inappropriate messages on Snapchat. So I block him on there too. But his full name was attached to his Snapchat. So I put my little Nancy Drew hat on, and I am Googling everything I need to know about this man. I find out he's a chancellor at a college in Nebraska, married with 4 kids. This man's working with young women every single day. Thought about sending everything to his college, but I was only 22, and this was my first job out of school, and I didn't want to cause this big fuss in the industry. I felt very silenced, like there was nothing I could do. For the next few weeks, things progressively got worse. He started adding me and all my family members on all social media, sending me messages saying his wife was having an affair with an old high school student of hers, and she's giving him a hall pass and he wanted it to be with me. It got worse. He started figuring out what I had to cover for work, and he showed up to state track and was yelling my name across the field. And then he started showing up at the bars that I would frequent with my friends. Work was not helping me out at all with this. They really didn't care. And my parents wanted me to file a restraining order, but honestly, I was too nervous because I didn't want to be the girl in my industry that was causing problems. I was always scared he was going to show up to my apartment. Thankfully, by the grace of God, I got out of that job and I moved back home with my parents. He was let go a month later for allegations with a female student. Girls, just always make sure you're being careful out there and make sure you check your surroundings.
1 in 3 women will be stalked throughout their lifetime, and stalkers are super unpredictable. So we want to make sure that you're educated so you can feel more safe with these kinds of situations. The first thing to remember with stalkers is that they tend to escalate when you react. For instance, if you were, say, to block them on social media, they might escalate by then going to your house or trying to follow you or something like that. The key here is to try to think a step ahead and prepare for that next escalation if you were to do something like blocking them. Along those lines, the next thing to remember is that you want to actually stop all contact with this person. Whether it's positive or negative contact, a lot of times they see that as reinforcement. For instance, you might have to avoid going certain places in order to not have to come into contact with that person. It's not fair that you would even have to do this. And 1 in 7 women actually end up relocating because of stalking. You always want to make sure that you are documenting every single thing that's happening with your stalker. Gifts they're sending you, letters, text messages, reaching out on social media, screenshot things, keep all the proof you can. The last thing you want to remember when it comes to stalking is to always make sure that you have your precise location turned off anywhere on any app that you are publicly sharing your location. This setting allows somebody to see exactly where you were when you posted. So whether this is a story or even something on your feed, if they click that link, even if it says something like in the clouds, they can see exactly where you were.
I have a stalker, and this update is probably the scariest one yet. Something really freaking scary happened last night. I was sound asleep, and at 3:28, my TV just turns on, and it doesn't just turn on to like the title screen or anything. It goes to that random video, like ferrets from the same people who made Charlie the Unicorn. And I thought it was like an alarm. So I was like, Alexa, turn the alarm off, and she didn't. And I was like, Alexa, turn the podcast off, and she didn't. And I realized that it was coming from downstairs. I go downstairs because it's really loud, and I take the remote and I turn it off, and I go upstairs and I don't think anything of it. Then I remembered about that randomly at work, and I was like, that's really weird. And so I thought to check my cameras, and my free trial expired, so none of my cameras were visually picking up anything, but they did detect the motion. And at exactly 3:28, well, first of all, I think it was 3:13 before this happened, like 15 minutes before, it detected a motion where the cars are, and the car windows you can like see to the living room. And then at 3:28, right as I got up and turned the TV off, there was more motion in the cars. So I'm thinking maybe it was my stalker just trying to see if I was home or if I was awake or something. I don't know for sure, but do any of you guys know if you can turn on an LG TV without a remote? Like if you could do it on your iPhone, or if you could buy like the same remote and be able to turn it on like that? Because I'm not sure what it was, but yeah. And I'm gonna provide receipts. Okay, so as you can see over here, where I circled, at 3:13 a.m. there was movement in my cars. Sorry, I blacked out my address over there, and then 3:28 inside front where I turned off the TV, there was more movement, and then once again at 3:28. So I think someone turned on my TV, was watching from my cars, and then left when they saw I was awake, but I'm not sure. I need you guys to help me and to help me figure it out. So yeah, if you have any information on how LG TV works, that would be great.
Here's something I've learned from working with stalkers. A lot of stalking is based on erotomanic delusions. The person is believing that they have a relationship with you, or they are in love with you, and they truly believe it's happening. The victim is the most safe when the stalker starts to be infatuated by somebody else. The delusion gets put onto someone else. Think of that TV show, You. It's actually very true.
I'm going to tell you about one of the major rules that you need to follow if you're ever dealing with a stalker. How I really screwed that up in the beginning because I just didn't know. How the Supreme Court ruling last week with the Counterman case makes that rule really impossible. So when you're dealing with a stalker or someone who is harassing you or cyberbullying you or anything like that, the general rule is any kind of contact, any kind of communication is received as positive reinforcement. Like, it's a good thing. It's that whole, so you're saying there's a chance. So you don't want to give them any kind of contact, which is why the Supreme Court ruling that the perpetrator needs to have some sort of understanding of the harm that they're causing is so problematic, because it is imperative that a victim not communicate that degree of vulnerability to the person that is harming them. It tends to not lead to a sense of empathy and, oh, now that I realize the harm that I'm causing you, I'm going to stop. So the man who stalked me began sending messages through Facebook Messenger. And what I didn't know at the time is that every time I was reading, he was getting a read receipt. In my mind, as a therapist who works with trauma, I am monitoring the trajectory of his escalation. Like, I'm paying attention to what he's saying, tone, the intensity, all of that. But he's getting a read receipt. So I am, without intending to at all, giving tons of positive reinforcement to him because I'm reading his messages and he's getting those read receipts. The day I found out, this is a stack of evidence that I have, he sent me a message that said, "The fact that you're reading this means that you are in love with me. I hope you realize this is obvious to me, LOL. I have 100 reasons why it must be so. I know you know way more about me than you let on. I like to detect clues. That's why I ask God if they are real or imagined to check the response." It's a modest attempt at something we might call science. We might not call it science. I'm pretty sure my stomach turned inside out when I realized that I was giving him positive reinforcement for his messages, that he was getting read receipts when I thought I was stealthily reading the messages. The only exception I will say that there is to the don't communicate is at some point you do want to say, do not contact me ever again, or you will encounter legal consequences. So I did have that in there, but then I also had the read receipts.
Hey, this is my story time on how I had a person stalking me for 8.5 years. The very first time that I was aware anything happened was actually when I came home from school one day. I was in middle school, and I discovered a note in my backpack, and my backpack had been in my locker, and the note was a very creepy message basically saying, "I've been watching you." Nothing else beyond that, and it took a little while for my school to actually figure out who it was, but my school, I guess the administration, took out a restraining order against this person. So this person had a restraining order to keep away from the school and from me and my home. And whatever the restraining order was for, the distance, whether it was 100 feet, I honestly can't remember exactly, but he did stick to that. And he stuck to exactly that for many, many years. So I would often see him exactly outside the limit of where he was supposed to be. And he would not be doing anything other than watching me and staring at me and just showing up in all kinds of places that he didn't belong. There was a decent amount of time that I did not see him from, I think it was the beginning of my senior year of high school until towards the end of my freshman year of college. And I went to college about 2.5 hours away from my high school. And one day he just showed up not too close, but not too far away from my apartment. I thought that part of my life had been over. For what it's worth, this had been reported to the police many times throughout the time that I was in high school, and there was literally nothing that could be done because he was within his guidelines of distance, and he wasn't doing anything other than watching and staring and being in places that he had no business being in. He disappeared for a while after that, and I started to finally kind of forget about him and put that behind me. And one day, when I was in my 20s, he actually showed up again, another city, another time. And I haven't seen him since then, and it definitely crosses my mind every now and again that he could very much still be around. I honestly have no idea. It sucks.
Story time about how I was stalked by what I honestly believe was a serial killer. In 2020, this guy moved into my apartment complex down the hall from me. My first encounter with this guy was in the hallways on his move-in day. He looked at me, and the first thing he ever said to me was, "Are you scared of me?" I thought that seemed a little strange, but then I realized that he was moving in to my guy best friend's apartment. So I texted my guy best friend and I was like, "Yo, your new roommate seems a little bit weird. Be careful." The following days, I keep finding this man everywhere I'm going. He was in the elevator with me. We got out of the elevator at the same time. I doubled back to make sure no one was following me. And he, at the exact same time, peeked out from behind the wall he was hiding behind. We made eye contact. And he laughed this evil demonic laugh, and he found out which apartment was mine. I was like, oh my gosh, like what should I do? I did call the police, but the police wouldn't take me seriously. I go over to my guy best friend's apartment, and obviously the stalker and him are sharing the same apartment unit. While I'm hanging out with him and a bunch of other guy friends, the stalker dude starts pacing back and forth through the apartment with an axe on his shoulder and a helmet. Just pacing, not saying a word to anyone, just pacing back and forth with an axe. He then proceeds to block the door like this. This guy's 19 years old and he's ripped on steroids. This guy couldn't even walk normal because of his muscle mass, and he's standing blocking the door so that no one could come in and no one could come out of the apartment unit. The guy eventually leaves the apartment, but he comes back, and when he comes back, he's extremely pissed off, goes into his room and is throwing things around. He comes out, and the dog who was living in the apartment starts growling. This dog loved people, but it could sense a very demonic energy. I look up at the stalker dude to see why the dog is growling. This guy had the most demonic glow to his eyes I have ever seen. I cannot describe it. All I knew is that I saw evil and darkness, and in that moment, I was terrified. All of my guy friends were actually playing video games, so they weren't really paying attention to what was going on. Once I got their attention, I told them that it's not safe here, we have to go. And they didn't know what I was talking about, but I told them I was leaving, and I got up and I left. Some of my guy friends followed me though. When I got out of that apartment, I bawled my eyes out, and they were like, "Cece, what happened? Like, why are you upset? Like, we were just hanging, like, I don't understand." So I told them exactly what I saw. My guy friends that stayed back tried to talk to him and see why he was angry, and this is what the stalker boy said. He told them that he had a god complex and he had come to the earth to purify the unclean. I ran out of time, but part 2 is already posted.
I wish that I was more aware of how choosing a partner can be a life or death decision. I don't want to go too extreme to saying life or death, but it's definitely between safe and dangerous. I think that as women, we actually don't think about it that way, but when you look at statistics, we as women are more likely to be killed by our romantic partner than anyone else, including a stranger. And if we think about how we walk out into the world, and you know how I jump in the car at night and I make sure I lock my door, and you know if I walk around with a pocket knife or something like that because I'm scared of a stranger, the truth is we should have that same energy when it comes to choosing our partner. This is a person that I love. This is a person that I trust. This is the person that every time I would cry over my stalker, every time I would say, God, like I'm just so tired. I'm so exhausted. I'm so tired of this person. Why won't they leave me alone? And to find out that it's him the whole time. We get to the airport. I get out the car and I said, I know it's you. I know it's you that's been stalking me the whole time. You and your best friend. I know it's you. And he just sat there dumbfounded, just silent.
Yeah, got you, bitch.
We're in the Uber and he proceeds to assault me in the Uber. He's jumping on me. He's grabbing my, he is completely just violating me in the back of this Uber. We pulled up to the Airbnb where we were staying and he continues to assault me, grab on me, grope me, all these things on the way up to the elevator. So I'm like, oh yeah, I'm done with this guy. So I walk into the Airbnb and I just start packing my things. He then grabs me, throws me over his shoulder, and drags me into the bedroom. As he's dragging me, it was so bad. I pull my phone out of my pocket and I call my sister and I put it on speaker. And I'm screaming and yelling. And I'm thinking he's really about to rape me. When he heard the phone ringing, he dropped me and then ran into the bathroom. So I run downstairs, I get security, they come upstairs and they stand in the Airbnb as I pack up my things and I go to a hotel. And then I fly from Dubai to Chicago that next day. I get back to Chicago. He comes back from Dubai on the flight we were supposed to get on, which was like 2 days after. He's showing up at my door. He's trying to buzz to get into the apartment. Like I'm just in fear of my life. He's calling me 5, 6, 7 times a day, texting me over and over again. And he proceeds to stalk me for probably the next 3 or 4 months until I meet my boyfriend. We're gonna call him Marcus. We date for a very short amount of time before I decide let's move in together. Now, I want to move in with him, one, because I was stupid, but also because I was afraid of the previous Dubai guy. I'm terrified. He just continues to call. So I moved from Chicago to Virginia to live with Marcus. And I noticed that he has a really, really, really bad temper, like very, very, very violent temper, punching walls, throwing things, really bad. There was a few times where he physically assaulted me as well. But in my head, I'm still concerned about this stalker.
You don't want to go back to Chicago.
I don't want to live by myself, period.
And have you told Marcus at this point about Dubai guy?
Yes. From the beginning, he knows that I have a very, very, very persistent stalker. He's always reassuring me, I'll protect you, I'll take care of you, but while also being abusive, right? I went through his phone while he was sleeping. What was in this phone is so insane, I can't express. So he had been messaging a lot of prostitutes. Let's start there.
Oh, really?
He also had a Plenty of Fish account.
Oh!
That's not even the worst of it, right? So I'm already disgusted. But then I get to this app, which was a very interesting app. The app is called Text Me Now. I open the app, and it's all these messages that are being sent to two numbers. My number and my sister's number. And it's all these FUB, you slut, you whore, you this, you that. And then I type in my name in the search in his regular messages. And it is a conversation between him and his best friend. And he's telling his best friend, call Deshauna right now. Say this to Deshauna right now. We're in Target, aisle 7. Tell her you know where you're at right now. Both tormenting me for at least a year. So this entire time, I think that it's Dubai guy.
Right.
I still to this day don't know when it stopped being Dubai guy and when it became the person I was dating. I still to this day don't know when it stopped being him and started being Marcus.
When it stopped being your stalker and started being your boyfriend.
Exactly.
That's insane.
I fought back against the stalker who tried to kill me, and now he's serving a life sentence. I didn't know that I had a stalker at the time, so I went to bed. It was just a normal night. I locked all the windows and the doors, got into bed with my dog, and fell asleep at maybe about 10 p.m. Up, I think around 2:45 because my dog Cookie was barking. I didn't take it very seriously at all. I got Cookie to stop barking and went right back to sleep. Woke up again at 3 a.m. Because Cookie was barking and I could tell this time that it was something serious. So I got up, I sat up in bed, looked at my phone, and it was 3:04 a.m. And I looked up from my phone at the bedroom doorway, and there was a silhouette of a figure standing in my bedroom doorway. He kind of peeked his head into the doorway, and he was lit from the back, so I couldn't see any features on his face. I saw him kind of peek in and then peek right back out. I immediately started telling myself, this isn't real, you imagined it. You know, like my heart was beating, my thoughts were racing, I was scared, but I had just gotten into a fight with my boyfriend that night, and my brain just convinced me that this was either nothing, like I had imagined it, or that it was my ex trying to scare me. So I got up out of bed and left my phone. I had a hunting knife in like my underwear drawer that a friend from Wisconsin, which is where I'm from originally, had given to me. I left that and walked out into the hallway, and no one was there. I walked into the living room where I thought my boyfriend would be. He wasn't there. Into the dining room. It was a little darker in there. No one was there. And then into the kitchen. And that's where I saw him. He was standing with his back up against the wall, and he was tall. And I saw right away that he had a knife in his hand. So I started to run. I didn't turn around. I scanned him up and down, and then started to run backwards. I ran backwards through the dining room, through the living room, smashed myself up against the living room windows. He chased after me. He quickly caught up to me. He held the knife to my throat and told me to shut the fuck up or I'm going to kill you. You see, I have a knife. Shut the fuck up. I'm going to kill you. And I did. I shut up. And from there, he started asking me questions. He asked me first, do you have a boyfriend? And like I said, I had just gotten into a fight with my then ex-boyfriend. This is also part of the story. And I lied and said that I had a boyfriend who would be back any minute, like we all would. And he did not seem very fazed by that, which made me nervous and scared. And then he said, where's the fucking money? And I took him into guest bedroom where I had $31 in a nightstand and passed it back to him. He was holding me with like his bicep and held the knife right here, and then held me with his left hand by like I had like a messy bun in my hair. After I handed him the money, my heart sank because he said, now what else do you have for me? And then I knew why he was really there. So after he said, what else do you have for me? He took me into my bedroom, but he told me to stand up against the wall. And he, started feeling me up. I started to cry. I was begging, saying, I just kept saying over and over, you don't have to do this. Please don't do this. I'm a nice person. You don't have to do this. And all I felt still at this point was terror, fear. Who is this man? What does he want? I'd never seen him before. And, am I gonna survive this? So then, fuck. It actually left a little mark on my face. Dang it. So then he told me to go lay on my bed. After I laid on the bed, damn it. I let it sit too long. He told me to stretch out my arms and legs, and I did. And he was still then, feeling me up. And for me, I was staring at the wall. He wanted me to look away from him. The knife was always at my throat. But I was looking at the wall, and I started to see, my life flash before my eyes, but it wasn't my past, it was my future. My brain was sending me these images of me having a daughter. I don't have any children. Dancing at her wedding. My brain also showed me pretty horrific things, images that I've only seen in horror movies of what someone in a room with no consequences might do to me. And which was a pretty potent combination. The last thing my brain brought up for me was a scene from the TV show Dexter. I was not a super fan of the show Dexter. I liked it. In this scene, it's he's surely not going to make it. He says, a wolf in a trap will chew off its own leg to survive. Its survival instinct is that strong. And I don't remember bookmarking this scene in my mind. It wasn't something that I watched again and again. It was something that my mind must have just put in the back in case we needed it at some point, and we did, which I took as, you need to find any way that you can to survive this. My feeling was pretty strong, and I don't know if that's just intuition or fear, but my feeling was that he was not there with the intention to let me go. At the moment, there was no part of me that thought this, especially with the way that he was, that this man has a lot of mercy for me. Like I said, I was bawling, I was crying, and that only got him more excited. So I'm trying to go fast, but I'm trying to do this without the AC so you guys can hear. So I make up my mind to sacrifice my arms. In my mind, I was like, if I just start, doing this, and he slashes at me with the knife, maybe I lose my arms, but I'll walk away with my heart. And in my mind at the time, that was like walk away with my heart beating so that I'll survive. But I think there's obviously like deeper meaning, deeper levels to that. So he told me to turn on my side, and as I did, and he was like climbing up on the bed behind me, he pulled the knife away from my throat for a second. It was the first time that the knife had been away from my throat since he'd caught me on the couch. In that second, I chose to scream, and I screamed, "Somebody fucking help me!" Like as loud as I could. I lived in an apartment complex, so, like hopefully someone can hear me. In my mind, I was screaming loud enough for my family, my dad, my brothers to hear me all the way back in Wisconsin. He then jumps on top of me, straddles me. We start fighting like this. And I remember just like a flurry of hands. He's on top of me. And then I remember feeling like bop, bop right here in my head. And it felt like he was hitting me with the butt of the knife. And I wondered why he would hit me with the dull end. But then after that, I saw a white light, and it was like white light, white light, white light. And I realized he's punching you. No matter how many times he punches you, you can't fall asleep. If you fall asleep, you die. And I remember thinking, at least he doesn't punch very hard. And then he stopped, and I was able to get my legs up underneath him and push him off the bed. And immediately I sat up like I hadn't felt myself get stabbed. I hadn't felt any pain at all, but just kind of instinctively, my body told me to hold up my left hand. And I held up my left hand and saw that my ring finger and my pinky finger had been partially severed. So then, I thought I had lip gloss in here. Yes, I do. Then everything changed. When I saw that my fingers had been almost severed, I went from feeling utter terror to complete rage. Every cell in my body was swollen and pulsating red with rage. Like I've never felt before. And I looked down at him on the floor and screamed at him, "You cut my fucking fingers off? You cut my fingers off? I'm gonna you." So when I said I'm gonna you, I meant it in every sense of the word. All I felt was a desire to kill this man. So I jumped down onto the floor. He was like still sitting on the floor looking at his hands, and I started to punch him, kick him. Like my left hand was hurt badly, but I was punching with my right. I was kicking him with my bare feet, attacking him, screaming, "Get the fuck out of my house. I'm gonna you get the fuck out of my house." And he stood back up, pushed me back down onto the floor, and was slashing at me again. I put up my arms, and we fought a little bit more on the floor. Then all of a sudden I saw that he stood up and he started running, and I thought, okay, now I guess we're running. I ran after him. I went out to the hallway, and there was a lamp that I pulled out of the wall. He ran to the front door, and he started messing with the locks. I was hitting him over the back with the lamp, screaming, "Get the f*** out of my house, I'm gonna kill you, get the f*** out of my house, I'm gonna kill you." He reached back and he knocked the lamp out of my hand. I grabbed another lamp, pulled that out of the wall, was hitting him with that on the back, reached back, hit that out of my hands, but then he got the door open, the deadbolt opened the door, and ran out. I didn't find out that night. I didn't find out even a day after, a month after, that he had been stalking me for as long as he had. That came later. There are also a couple of other things, elements to the story, especially that happened in the afterward, that were surprises, things that I think many women can relate to. But like I said, I want to share this story if it's interesting to you guys, if it's something, like that makes you feel empowered. I really want to only, share things if it's helpful and not hurtful. I just think that, like, for me, I felt so lost after the attack. I felt like I couldn't find a depiction of my story in the media, in movies. I want to share the story, like I said, because there was no way that I thought that I would have been someone that fought back. No way. Like, I had no training. I had never been to a self-defense class. Now I box. I had never been to a boxing class. I had experiences in my past where I hadn't stood up for, I was like in a relationship in a toxic relationship where I wasn't standing up for myself every day, and I'd had instances of.
Who wants to hear the story about the guy that I was seeing who was also seeing his sister? I meet this guy on Hinge, okay? He's gorgeous. Like, he looks just like Leo from Tell Me Lies, okay? Gorgeous. So he drives 2 hours to take me on our first date, and we had been talking for a couple weeks at this point, and this is right before or right after my divorce. So like, I would never do this now. But I was like, okay, like, why don't you just like stay the night after our date? Girl, be so real. Do you think that's a good idea? No. I'll call him Tony. That's not his name. I opened my door, I said, Tony. And he looks up and starts skipping stairs to get to me. And he gives me a big hug and he has flowers. He was like, I'm so excited to like actually see you. And I was like, me too. And I was like, I'm finishing getting ready. Like, come in, whatever. He takes me to dinner. He has a really nice car. He takes me to a very nice restaurant. I'm like, okay, this guy has his life together. He had gotten out of the military. I won't say which branch. And he was getting his master's. So I was like, his life is like put together. I'm obsessed. And the conversation is so good. And he's so interested about my interests, which is like not typical. A lot of people just don't want to talk about neuroplasticity and how cool it is. That's like one of my biggest interests. He was clocked in. He was ready, okay? He was applying for the job to be my boyfriend. And he's telling me about him, and he grew up on a farm in a southern state, and he was homeschooled. But like, not the type of homeschool where you're with other kids, the type of homeschool that it's just you and your siblings, okay? And he has a sister who is like a year younger, 2 years younger. Anyways, so we finished the first day. He stays over. He's already texted me about our next date. He's excited. He's like really into it. So he says, why don't you come by me, which is by like Eastern, like ECU. I think that was the school he was getting his master's at. And he was like, we'll do like some fun mini golf. I'll take you to this hot dog place because he knows I love hot dogs. Leading up to the date, I was feeling like sketched out for whatever reason. For really no reason. He was great. But my like intuition was like, ooh, this is not good. But my heart was like, what are you talking about? Like, shut up. Ugh. Having fun, living life, he's hot. At the same time, there was a documentary about that guy. I can't think of his name right now, but he was in Call Me By Your Name. And there was a documentary about like all the girls that he had like SA'd. And like, for whatever reason, I was getting the same vibe. And I was also getting the same vibe of like, maybe he was gonna eat me at some point. And I can't explain why. He never like gave me any reason to believe that he was going to eat me. But I started to really, really hone in on the fact that he was gonna like hurt me somehow. So we go on the date. Date is so fun. But then at dinner, after mini golf, he was like, you know what? You look just like my cousin. And I was like, oh my gosh. Huh. And he was like, I mean, she's hot. I'm like, oh. Okay. He showed me a picture. I look identical. And then he's telling me how hot I am the rest of the night. And I'm thinking, oh, this guy wants to fuck his cousin. This is what this is. He wants to fuck his cousin. So we go back. He gets a hotel because he has a roommate because he's in school. He brings out things that
I don't wanna. Wait, who are you doing that with? Because it ain't me. Like, dangerous things. Like, for the bedroom? I was like, this isn't like, I'm not, no. We started having like pillow talk, okay? We're getting really deep into conversation. And he reveals to me that when he was in like 3rd grade, him and his sister got really curious. I'm gonna throw up. Girl. And I was like, huh? What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? And he like really gets into detail of what they did from 3rd grade to a couple years ago. They were having a full-blown relationship. In that in just that one way. Okay? I really hope y'all are picking up what I'm putting down, okay? Him and his sister had relations for years. And I'm fawning at this point because I'm like, I'm actually in danger. This is not good. I've been drinking. I can't drive home 2 hours. And so I become a therapist. I'm like, oh my gosh, like that probably really affected you, you know, throughout your whole childhood. Like, do you think that's like brought into your adult like your life? Like, I'm trying to be a therapist, you know, and try to make him feel comfortable to just like keep talking. But I'm like, I really don't want to hear it, but what am I gonna do? I gotta know where to go. So he tells me everything until we fall asleep. I'm driving home, he's calling me, and he's just like, I had so much fun, like I love getting to know you. And I'm like, oh, yeah, me too, so much fun. But I was like, you know what, it feels like you don't really have a relationship with God, so like I need that. And he was like, well, I also need someone that I can but like I said, yeah, and he's like, yeah, you just didn't seem into like all the things that I was into. Yeah, because I'm not. Because most people aren't. I'm not gonna yuck or anyone's yum, but like yuck. Yucky. Yeah. No. Just because they look like Leo does not mean you should date them. No. Ugh. I'm so, like, honestly, this is embarrassing for me to tell. I've waited 2 years to tell this story because every time I try to, I'm like, oh, this looks bad for me. Like, ugh. Well, let me know if you have any questions.
I went on a date with a man who, at minimum, is incredibly disturbed, at maximum, has bodies hidden somewhere. This was like 3 years ago, but I was literally watching a true crime show and I thought of this story and I was like, you know what? I gotta share with the class. So I had been hanging out with this guy. We had gotten like dinner and coffee a few times and he was like super quiet, but like as a bitch who doesn't shut the fuck up, like I'll take it. One night we were getting drinks and it was like pouring down rain. And so I was trying to call my Uber to leave, but they kept canceling. And he was like, oh, like I live down the street. Like you can just come hang out at my place for a little bit until you can get an Uber. We're walking into his apartment building. And as we're walking in, I start getting like a horrible feeling in my stomach. Like my intuition was intuitioning, but I wrote it off and I was like, oh, I'm probably just like nervous. Like he seems like a totally nice, fine guy. Like I'm sure this is a fine situation. Side note, it wasn't. So we walk into his apartment and the very first thing I see on the wall is a like 1800s era shotgun hanging on the wall in a case, like above his TV. Like people were wearing powdered wigs when this model dropped. So I'm like, is this what John Wilkes Booth had in the theater? Like, it's the weapon that took out Abe? Because it was a full-blown musket, y'all. And then surrounded by said musket was just a bunch of paintings of war. And like, this is no shade to anyone who likes history. Like John Green raised me. Hello. Like I love a good history moment as much as the next person, but like white men that are obsessed with war and guns. I think I've seen this film before and I didn't like the ending. So he sees me looking at all the shit on his wall and he looks to me and goes, yeah, I guess you could say I'm a war guy. And I'm like, yeah, like, feel that. Love a good musket from time to time. So I'm like looking around the rest of his apartment because I'm like, the Star Spangled Banner has got to be around here somewhere. And I look at his coffee table and I notice that he has a few books on it. And I'm like, oh, I wonder like what he's reading. Like, I bet it's some kind of like history book. Like, wonder what light reading he's getting in. I look at the titles and it's all books about serial killers. There's like a Ted Bundy one and another one was like some kind of true crime serial killer one. And I'm just looking at that like, holy shit, like this is getting fucking weird. So now I'm just trying to decide like, what the fuck do I do in this situation? So my mind is just going a million miles a minute and his phone starts ringing. He looks at his phone and he turns to me and goes, ugh, this is my bitch ass ex-girlfriend. I was hoping she wouldn't make this mistake again. She knows what's gonna happen. That moment, I was like, okay, yeah, like that was my cue to get the fuck out of there. I immediately text my sister and I'm like, hey, I am in an emergency situation. I need you to call me and pretend there's an emergency and I have to leave immediately. So my sister calls me and I put on a fucking Oscar-winning performance. I'm like, hey, I am so sorry. Like, I don't want to do this. I'm having such a great time. But my sister just called me and her dog's missing and she's like looking for it in the pouring rain and she's having a panic attack and I have to go help her. I'm so sorry, like, let's do a rain check, pick this up, like, tomorrow, like, let's just reschedule. And he was like, oh, well, like, that sucks, like, are you sure you have to go now? And I'm like, yeah, like, I'm positive, like, she really needs me, I'm so sorry. And at this point, his entire demeanor changes and goes from being, like, a very lighthearted, nice guy to turning, like, so serious. Like, his entire face, his demeanor, everything changed. And he looks at me and goes, well, I can't let you leave this soon now, can I? And when he said that, I was like, fuck, I'm about to end up on a fucking t-shirt. It's about to break that musket out of its case. Death by musket in 2023 is crazy. Like, how is this happening? My heart is just racing and pounding and my face just goes completely white. He sees me like freaking the fuck out because I know it's all over my face. I look like I'm gonna puke. And he goes, oh, I'm just kidding with you. I'm like, yeah, of course you are. Have you ever tried being a comedian? Like, you're really funny. Like, that was a good one. You had me there. So I look at my phone and I'm like, oh, my sister's already here. Like, I gotta go. Like, it was great meeting you. Like, we'll do a rain check for this, knowing damn well this man will never see my face ever again. Looks at me like very serious again and goes, have a great night. I hope the elevator's working so you can make it out. I'm like, like, what the fuck does that mean? Once I get out of the apartment, I Usain Bolt for the staircase. Like, I can't even take 10 steps without getting out of breath. But that day, she was a runner. She was a track star. After he made the comment about the elevator, I'm freaking the fuck out because I'm like, did he hire someone to like wait in the elevator for me? Am I about to go toe to toe with someone in a powdered wig? Like, what is about to happen? Like, so I take off for the stairs and I'm running down the stairs. And then I'm like thinking to myself, wait, fuck, in all the horror movies, the bad guy chases the person down the staircase. Like, that always happens. So I'm like, okay, I gotta exit these stairs. So I get off on a random floor. So I'm just like waiting on this random floor, deciding, do I wait it out? Like, do I call the fucking police? Like, what do I do? Even though the apartment building is empty as fuck, this like old man comes up to me and he's like a resident that lives in the building and he was like, oh, like, hi, how are you? Like, do you live here? And I'm like, no, like, I'm just visiting a friend. Just having like a nice, polite little conversation. And he seemed just like an old man that was like kind of lonely and wanted someone to talk to. So I was like, oh, he seems like sweet. I'll just have a little conversation with him. He starts getting really fucking like close to me and getting creepy. And I had told him that I was waiting for my sister to come pick me up. So he's like, oh, you can come wait in my apartment if you would like. As he's saying this, he's like inching closer and closer to me. And then he like goes to grab my hand. And I was like, absolutely not. And I was like, well, I think my sister just got here. I gotta go. So like now I'm running from two crazy guys. I'm like, I'm just gonna take my chances and go back to the staircase. So I just book it down the staircase. I finally get to the lobby. At this point, my sister really is here to pick me up. So she pulls up out front and I run into the car and I'm like, go, go, go. We gotta get the fuck out of here. Ladies, if y'all see a musket hanging up in someone's apartment, run.
This is why I deleted my Tinder and why every single girl watching this needs to delete her Tinder too. This happened a few years ago and I honestly consider myself so incredibly lucky to be alive after experiencing this. I was living in New York City at the time and I matched with a guy. For the entire time we were talking, he was really aggressively trying to get me to go out with him. And eventually I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna let this guy take me out on a date. Maybe I'm just being judgmental. Maybe he's not being desperate. Maybe he's just putting in an effort. So the day of the date rolls around around and he tells me that he wants to take me out to a restaurant that is a bit of a hidden gem and is a little bit outside of the city in an area of Westchester called Yonkers. And even though he offered to drive me, I was like, no, it's all good. I actually had my own car in New York City, so I agreed to meet up with him. Now, I feel like an absolute idiot because I didn't even Google this place before I went. So on the night of the day, I'm driving to this place. I put it into my GPS, and it's really weird because as soon as I see it in the GPS, it says that the place is closed. So I text my date and I'm like, hey, I just put this place into the GPS and it is telling me that it is actually closed. To which he replies, oh no, don't worry. They're really bad at updating their hours. This is the part where I should have just been like, oh hell no, and I should have canceled the date. But somehow I decided it would be a good idea to get in my car and drive 40 minutes to Yonkers for a date with a guy. So after 40 minutes of driving in traffic, I arrive at this place in Yonkers. I pull up to the building and I quickly realize that there is nobody in the parking lot and that indeed this business is really closed. Not to mention, my car is the only car in the parking lot. So I start to panic, and as I look behind me to put my car in reverse, I notice another car pull up. This car pulls up right beside me. I don't even look at the person sitting in the car. I just simply back up out of that parking lot as fast as I can and I get the heck out of there. The entire way home, I am just looking in my rear view mirror to see if there's anyone behind me, and thankfully there was not. And the craziest part of all of this is when I got home, I went back onto that dating app and I could see that the profile had unmatched with me. I never got a chance to screenshot that profile. I never learned the guy's last name, but I can't tell you guys how many times I've heard this happening to girls on dating apps. It's not worth it. Just delete it for your own safety. And if you are going to be on dating apps, please always make sure to get the person's last name and to meet in a place that you are familiar with.
A lot of people are doing Hinge horror stories on here, so I want to contribute mine. This is one of the worst dates I've ever been on in my entire life. And granted, some people have had it a lot worse. This is nothing compared to them, but I'm going to throw in my story. So back when I was living in Florida, I was on a couple different dating apps. I was on Tinder, I was on Hinge, I was on Bumble. I was probably on all of them. And I matched with a guy whose pictures didn't quite show him. Like, it was really tough to make out what the man looked like. And his bio was super vague. So I don't know why I swiped right, but something in me was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And we ended up matching and setting up a time to go out for drinks at a bar that was like right up the road for me. I think I chose the location. And I show up that night and I see him standing in the doorway, and instantly I'm like, oh, this is not, like, there's no attraction. He wasn't my type. But I was like, okay, I'll just go. I'll sit for 45 minutes. We'll have a conversation. I'll feed my extroverted side. It'll be fine. So we get our beers and it's kind of crowded. So we go and sit outside at a picnic table. And I don't remember when it first started going downhill, but one of the things that sticks out in my mind is he had just moved from New York and he used the word libtard in an unironic way. And then he started going off about politics, and we were very obviously not aligned in our beliefs. And the conversation just kind of kept getting worse and worse. And I'm sitting there and I'm trying to be like, you know, as women we're taught not to make waves. And I was like, just get through this. And I'm drinking my beer and I'm starting to feel a little bit fuzzy tingly. And then somehow the conversation like merged into astrology, which I enjoy. I don't put a ton of stock in it, but like, it's fun to talk about. But this man was very into astrology. Like, he started judging my star sign, which I could have done the same back. Whatever his was, it fit. And then at one point, he asks me if I've ever kissed or hooked up with a girl. I think he said like I give bi energy or something like that. But it wasn't phrased very kindly, and also what a weird thing to ask somebody on a first date. And I think I like nervous laughed and I was like, yeah, I'm bi, you know? It was awkward. And then we started talking about middle names. This man had a weird middle name. I'm not gonna judge your name. You didn't pick it, but like, his middle name was Goofy. His whole name was Goofy. And so at one point, we're in the middle of talking about something, and he leans in to kiss me. And I kid you not, my body reacted, and I went, oh no, like literally physically repulsed. And then I'm sitting there like kind of tipsy, like, oh, sorry, you know, trying to laugh it off. But there was nothing I could do. So I looked at him and I said his whole name and I was like, I am not gonna kiss you. And he looked very defeated and very confused as to why he had been rejected. And then he was like, oh, well, maybe we could get another beer? And I was like, no, I'm actually gonna go. And I left. And it was probably the worst date I've ever been on.
I went on a second date last night and I had honestly a terrifying experience. Just want to talk about it a little bit.
So originally I went out with this guy about 2.5 weeks ago. We both got really busy, a bunch of stuff happened, so we didn't get around to going out on our second date until last night. He picked out a really cool restaurant. I was really looking forward to it. We get there, everything's great, the restaurant's cool. We sit down and he offers to like pick out a couple things from the menu that we can split. I'm like, great, I love that. That is kind of my preferred way of doing meals, is just splitting a few different things. We're having a great time, we're chatting. The waiter comes over to take our order. So he tells the waiter what we're getting. One of the items is a salad with like a pesto sauce. I am severely allergic to peanuts and nuts. I have an anaphylactic allergy. So I tell the waiter, FYI, like I have a really bad allergy. Can we like not do the pesto, whatever. We're good to go. The waiter is like, yep, no problem. We won't do the pesto, or I'll put it on the side or whatever. So my date and I are chatting. Everything's good. Food comes out. Everything comes out at the same time. We start kind of like splitting stuff and figuring out what we're gonna do. So my date takes half of the salad and he's like, I'll just move this onto my plate and then you can have the actual salad plate. Great, beautiful. As he's like moving and like sliding the salad onto his plate, I look at the plate closer and I see there's like this green stuff on the plate, not lettuce. It's like a sauce looking thing, but it's just a tiny trace amount. And I'm like, I wonder what that is. I look at it closer, like it kind of looks like pesto, kind of. So I say to my date, does that look like pesto to you? He looks at it and he's like, yeah, I think so, but it's hard to tell. There's like a small amount on it and it's at the bottom of the plate, kind of like under the salad. So I flag over the waiter. I'm like, hey, does this have pesto on it? He looks at it and he's like, I don't think so. Because the salad doesn't look like it has any dressing or sauce on it, but this is like under the salad almost. And I'm like, I think this is pesto. And he looks at me, the waiter, and says, oh, I don't think our pesto has any nuts in it. Keep in mind, pesto is made from pine nuts. Sometimes, very, very, very occasionally, restaurants will make it with something else. Usually it's pine nuts. He looks at it, he's like, I'm pretty sure our pesto doesn't have nuts in it. And I say, on your menu, it was listed as like a nut-based pesto. Can you go check? He's like, yeah. He disappears for 10 minutes. My man does not come back. My date and I are both like, okay, so you don't care if I live or die. And I'm like so anxious at this point because I was basically like 10 seconds away from taking a bite of the salad. And I just happened to look closely at the plate and saw this. So I'm like very freaked out. The guy comes back, or a different waiter comes back, takes the plate, doesn't say anything. Doesn't say like, hey, we're gonna take, doesn't say a word, just takes the salad plate. So now we're looking at each other like, what is happening? Our original waiter comes back with a new salad plate. Says, I'm so sorry, it did have pesto on it. The pesto does have nuts in it. My anxiety was through the roof because already like eating at restaurants for me sometimes is like a bit of a daunting thing because I have allergies and you're just trusting that the kitchen is gonna listen to you and that the chef is gonna take it seriously. So I'm like, I now have to like try to regulate my anxiety so I can enjoy this date when I just got so close to eating something with nuts in it. Oh my God. It was a good exercise for me in calming myself down. I also have to say, the guy I was with handled it like a superstar. He was great. He was very helpful. He did not make me feel bad about it at all. Because sometimes with allergies, you don't know how the other person's gonna react or if they're gonna be like annoyed that you're sending stuff back or whatever. He was a rock star, so that was good. It's okay. Such is life, but I was terrified. It was a terrifying experience. If you have like anaphylactic allergies, you know that's like so scary when you're about to eat something and you realize that you're allergic to something in it. So at least I caught it, but oh my God.
I just got back from one of the worst dates I have ever been on. Like, I don't even know why this man wants to see me again because I was not nice to him. I was pretty clear about the time that I was having. Okay, so I get to this place the guy chose. It's cute, it's fine. I see him, we hug. We had like a really good text conversation on the app. So I was like, okay, we're definitely gonna like get along. We start talking. He like immediately starts going into this story about the drama going on in his work. He works in finance. He's going on and on and on and on. And he keeps saying like the woman that works below me, the woman that works below me, and the woman that, and the people that work below me, and the woman that works, and I'm like, I know you're an associate, like let's calm down. Like, you know, I'm not an idiot, but whatever. He keeps going on and on and on and on this story, and I'm kind of like, okay, this is fucking stupid. And then I realize he's kind of like prompting me to ask what he does. And I'm like, I'm not gonna do that. I can read an ego, I can see it. And this man's got quite an ego, and he's dying for me to ask what he does in finance. I don't ask. And then he starts explaining what he does. I have not asked. And he goes, yeah, I work in investment banking. Do you know what that is? He goes, do you want me to explain what that is? And I go, oh, no, I'm familiar. I know what investment banking is. Strike one, I'm like, oh my God, this man is so patronizing and he so badly wants to mansplain his job to me. We're not doing that. I'm not going to ask him anything about finance, anything about his job. I'm going to just sit back. After this man has been talking for, I would say like at least 10 minutes, I just sat down. I literally just sat down. He's talking like 5 to 10 minutes. And then he goes, so, like, when did you move here? And I go, yeah, I just moved here in May. So I guess it's been like 5 months. And he goes, okay. Like, what the fuck? So I'm like, literally sitting across from him and I go, what does that mean? And he goes, I have a rule about dating people who just recently moved here. And I'm like, okay, we have not had our drinks yet. We've been there for 5 to 10 minutes max. This is the first thing I've said too. I'm like, okay. And he goes, yeah, I just like, I don't date people that just move here because, like, you know, you haven't really, like, found your community and made your friends and, like, blah, blah, blah. And, like, you're also probably dating hella people and all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, in my head, I'm thinking, like, what fucking idiot says this the second you sit down? Unless you don't want to be on this date, why the fuck would you say this? So I go, okay, that's interesting. I mean, that's how you feel. And I shut down. Like, I kind of just am like, okay. And he goes, what? And I'm like, no, I just think that's interesting. And he starts going on and on about how he feels this way because he moved to Hong Kong, and when he moved there, he wasn't focused on dating and blah, 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 blah. And he's going on this whole spiel. And I go, it sounds like you're projecting those feelings. And he's like, no, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, no, like, it sounds like you are projecting how you experienced moving to a new place and dating and finding community onto other people. Like, I don't know. I just think that, like, you should give people a chance. That's kind of my mentality. And he's like, no, me too. I, like, totally believe in giving people a chance. And then he starts talking about Hong Kong. And I'm like, okay, cool, Hong Kong. Like, at this point, I'm like, I want to fucking leave, but we just got there. And I'm like, how do I leave? I wish I had left. I wish I had, looking back. So, talking about Hong Kong, talking about how he's in Hong Kong, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, blah. And he's like, I speak Chinese. And I'm like, oh, sorry if this is like a dumb question, but sorry, when you say you speak Chinese, do you speak Mandarin? And he goes, oh, I'm so glad you asked this. So it's like complicated. So, you know, in China, there's different dialects. So there's different, you know, and in the South, they actually speak Cantonese. Like Hong Kong is an island. Did you know that? Hong Kong. And I'm like, like, I'm familiar. And he goes, okay. So, like, Hong Kong's an island. They speak Cantonese in Hong Kong. And I go, so why didn't you learn Cantonese? And he's like, oh, okay. So, like, the way that it is like Mandarin is like the language that Mao, do you know who Mao is? And I'm like, yeah, I know who Mao is. He goes, okay, like, if you were paying any attention to history, you'd know who Mao is. And I'm like, oh my fucking God, kill me with this guy. And he goes, so Mao basically wanted everyone to speak Mandarin. That was like, blah, blah, blah. I cut him off and I go, okay, so are you saying that Mandarin is the national language and there's local dialects? And he goes, yeah, that's it. I literally said to him, okay, that was a lot easier to explain than what you were going into. Like, I get it. I've been places where it's the same. At this point, I'm like, get me the fuck out of here. We go through the date and I'm like, fucking get me out. Near the end, he brings up, and I ended the date. He's like, yeah, I noticed that, like, you know, when I said that thing about like about my like rule with not dating people that just got here, like, you kind of like, you know, I'm like a straight shooter, and it seemed like you kind of like didn't like that, blah blah. And I go, oh no, I just thought it was a little rude that within the first, and I told him this, literally told him this. No, I just thought it was a little rude that within the first 5 to 10 minutes of me sitting down, meeting you on this date, you basically told me that you don't date people that recently moved here. I have all this in my profile. You also told me that you admittedly hadn't viewed my profile when I, throughout the night, had been asking you things about your profile. And like, that's fine that you didn't read my profile, but then for you to have this rule and to basically say like, you don't even, and then expect me to continue on the date acting like I'm excited to be there is a little awkward to me. And he's like, oh, blah, blah, he's saying all this stuff. Oh my God, no, I'm just a straight shooter. And like, you get it, blah, blah. And I go, well, I'm a really honest person too. And honestly, I just thought that that was very disrespectful. And I like to take the approach with dating that like give people the benefit of the doubt. If you have gone far enough to like meet me to go on a date, obviously like you see something you're interested in. You didn't read my profile, so I don't really know what exactly you were interested in. Maybe it was just superficial, but like, you know, I think that people are a lot more than just the looks, the whatever. I think the older that you get, the more experience, the more that you have, the baggage that you come with, that I think it's beautiful. I've dated people with kids. I've dated people that were divorced. Like, I don't X anyone out because of whatever they come with. So I just was a little surprised to see you do that. And backtracks. Anyways, and then also this guy kept telling all these crazy party stories and kept saying like, oh, I can't tell you that, and I can't tell you that, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, are these fucking men in New York for real? Are you even trying to fucking date? Like, what the fuck? And he's like talking about he's going to Miami. He's like, I'm going to Miami, and like, oh, I can't tell you that. I can't tell you what I'm gonna do in Miami. And I'm like, I'm literally sitting in my seat and I go, no, please don't. You sound like quite the fun time. And he's like, yeah. What's going on, guys? My friends have told me they're now taking over my dating profile and they're gonna pick people for me to go on dates with, because I don't even trust that I'm picking the right people at this point. This is
So there's certain places you find love, and most times a dating app ain't it. Not everybody's meant to be on a dating app. Some people ain't meant to be dating at fucking all. This is the reason I'll personally never going on a dating app ever again. So I met this girl on Hinge. She was in law school. She had tattoos. She had a cool contrast vibe to her. Now this was the first red flag I should have clocked immediately. We had been talking for a month. Mother's Day rolls around. I'm on Instagram, normal, scrolling through, seeing all the moms or whatever. I see her story, and I start clicking through. I'm like, she posted a lot of pictures with this baby. Who the hell is it? Oh shit. Did not even mention she had a kid. So I swipe up on the stories like, Happy Mother's Day, I guess. To which she responds, oh my God, I'm sorry, I didn't want to tell you because, you know, like to keep things private, whatever, blah, blah. I'm an understanding person, I get it. Not everything is supposed to be everyone's business, right? Especially when it comes to kids and shit. And I don't want to be, you know, an asshole and drop her just because she got a kid. So it's all good. Let that slide. She would constantly tell me that her family members didn't like her. Now, I'm being understanding. I'm trying to be, you know, play devil's advocate by saying like, you know, oh, you know, you just misunderstood. My fucking dumbass. She literally told me one day her mom called her the devil. And I didn't heed that fucking warning. We kept talking. At this point, we've been talking for like two and a half months. She comes down. She used to live up in North Cali. She came down to visit me for a weekend. No complaints. She was cool as fuck. Like, I didn't have no complaints whatsoever. Problems didn't start, really, for me until after, when she left. She started having issues with things she didn't even have issues with that really had no business being issues. Started arguments all the time. I'm not an argument person. I tell people up front, hey baby, I don't do arguments. That's my thing. I don't argue. We could talk out things. We're adults, whatever. She started crossing that boundary. There was a point where I was like, you know what? This is getting too much. Let's just end things. I say it respectfully. I'm like, let's just end things. I want you to go find whatever makes you happy, whatever, blah, blah. This woman who lives up in the Bay, I live in LA. She immediately left her job and drove from the Bay down to LA. What should have been a 6 to 7 hour drive, she made 3 to 4 and showed up at my crib proud of the record breaking fucking speed that she went. My dumb ass, I let her in. I tell her, I'm like, look, you gonna need some therapy. If this is gonna work, you clearly got some baggage you're dealing with. I understand, we all got it, but you gonna need some therapy. To which she looked me in the face and she was like, I'm gonna go to therapy. I know I got problems, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, cool, we squash it, boom. Later on that same week, other issues arise. She started doing the same shit. I cut it off again, right? This time, it really hit me like in the middle of the night. So I sent her a text at like 3 a.m. being like, you know what? I don't want to do this, like whatever, blah, blah. Like, I was really standing firm. I was standing on business. I don't want to do this no more. It's becoming too much. I sent the text, put my phone down. I went to sleep. Boom, out. I woke up the next morning to paragraphs of her going off on me, her DMing random women that I probably followed recently, asking how they know me. She threatening to heavy on the... I'm like, what the fuck? So I literally had to hit up her family members being like, yo, your sister wildin'. I don't know if you know, but she's saying this. I don't know if she's serious or not. She's saying she gon', you know what I'm saying? So I never spoken to her family before. Her family said, the best advice we can give you is to run, nigga. Wait, hold on. What do you mean? What do you mean? One of them says something is actually clinically wrong with her. You need to run. All right, bet, cool. Don't reply to none of her texts. Block her number at this point. Probably, I don't even remember. I just was trying to get away from all that energy she was trying to put onto me. I get a call from one of her family members. They said, hey, you live in LA, right? Yes. I think she on her way to you right now. What do you mean? She left a while back. She kind of had this crazy look in her eyes. And I think she's on the way to you. Nigga, and you telling me this shit now? One of her family members is like, look, you don't owe her nothing. When she pulls up, you don't have to let her in. You don't got to do nothing. Best thing for you to do is just stay in your crib. I'm like, is she the fucking Punisher? What the fuck? Her other family member saying, you need to have some people with you. You need to have backup with you just in case. What the fuck is happening? She pulls up. I go outside. She in her car. Just lean the seat back, just watching in the dark. And I'm like, bitch, I can see you. Let her into my lobby. I give her a pat down. Make sure she ain't got no weapons and shit on her. Then I sit with her, have a conversation with her. Eventually, got her to calm down, sent her on her way, whatever, right? She gets back up to the Bay. I don't know what she does up there, but starts causing havoc to her family members because she got the idea that her family members been talking to me. Now, all of a sudden, her uncle, who's in prison, is calling my phone out of nowhere, asking me what the fuck is going on. I'm like, how the fuck did you get my number? So I'm like, sir, I'll tell you everything. I was on the phone with that nigga. Every 5 minutes, we heard, doot, doot, doot. please add more coins for the call to continue or some shit like that. It was like real like that. After I got through telling him everything, he was just like, all this nigga said, he was just, oh nah, I gotta talk to her. I gotta talk to her. Her sister sent me a text when she got back up to the bay. This girl punched a hole through her sister's door just off the idea that her sister might have played a part in me not speaking to her no more. Basically, I had to distance myself completely. I like to think the point of this whole thing was I avoided being a stepdaddy.
I'm so shocked right now. Okay, I already gave up the dating apps, but just let this be a warning to everyone out there who's still on them. Don't trust anybody. I know that sounds crazy and a little cynical, a lot cynical, but I've now had way too many experiences where I just think it's too easy to be this ideal person on those apps, and so many women get caught in these kind of traps where you're already 5-6 dates in and then they reveal their true colors and it's not what you signed up for. So I dated a guy last November and I really liked him. He was he was engaged like 6 months prior. And that's when they broke off their engagement, like 6 months before we started dating. So he'd had some time to kind of like heal and reflect. And he told me he was in therapy now still. They dated for a long time. So I kind of was like proceeding with caution because I knew, okay, there's no way this man is just fully healed and ready for a serious relationship again, which is what I'm looking for. But we got along really well. He was super funny, really cute. We just had so much in common. He was so chivalrous. I don't know, he just did everything right. But in the back of my head, I was kind of like, okay, this is going almost too well, you know? So I had doubts, but not really any proof to back it up. We went on 4 dates, and after the 4th date, I could just feel he was a little bit more distant, and I saw that he was still on all the apps. And like, I mean all the apps. He was on like 4 different dating apps. So I just told him, hey, you know, it's been really nice getting to know you. I think we're looking for different things here, and I'm just gonna take a step back. And he just didn't respond. I sent like a nice message, but I just like, I wasn't getting what I needed back. A few months later, I see him on Raya, or he sees me on Raya, and he messages me and is like, hey, I'm so sorry about the way things ended, blah, blah, blah. I wasn't in a great place. Hope you're doing well. Kind of hinting that he wanted to see me. And I was just like, wish you the best. I'm so sorry you were going through a hard time and I hope it's better now. But, you know, don't bring me into your mess. I had posted him in this group. I won't reveal the group, but the girls that know. It's a confidential group of women that you can post somebody and see if anyone's had negative dating experiences. It's mostly for like, you know, dangerous guys or like guys with girlfriends, those kind of dudes. So I'd posted him when we started dating and I didn't really hear anything. Months later, I get a message.
So a couple months ago, I went on a date with this guy. Worst date I've ever been on. Let me tell you about it. To preface, him and I met like in the IRL and he like asked me for my number. At like 5 o'clock that same day, I get a FaceTime from a random number. It's him. I never saved his number. And he's like, hey, do you want to go get drinks in like 20 minutes? Like, yeah, bet, spontaneous. Like, let's do it. 20 minutes later, we meet up and we're like walking to this restaurant. I knew within the first 10 minutes that this was a one date type of thing. So we walked to the first restaurant. Do you want anything to eat? And I was like, oh no, I just had dinner. Like, I'm good. He orders an appetizer and it comes and he goes, oh no. And he like gets the waiter's like, waiter. He goes, I have a peanut allergy. Do these have nuts in it? I know the man cannot control his peanut allergy, but I was already icked and the icks just kept getting worse. He is like throwing them back the whole time. And I'm just sitting there sipping out of a little straw, like, chill. This man is yapping. Personally, I'm a yapper. He is out talking me. I'm talking about like my dreams, my accomplishments, like things that I want to do in my future. He's pretty much telling me that like that's all wrong and that I need to do something else. Like, what? This is a first date, not a life advice session. He just keeps going on and on about how I'm making all these like wrong decisions. And this whole time he keeps on slipping in how like rich he is and how much money he has. Like, that's so like, I don't care. Like, I don't care. So then we get up and we go to the next restaurant. Oh my God. This is where it starts to go downhill rapidly. He starts talking about his girl best friend. I don't care about that stuff. Like, whatever, have as many girlfriends as you want, like, whatever. But the way he's talking about her is like, he's obviously in love with her and like she won't give him the time of day. Like, he's kind of obsessed with her, it sounds like. I'm pretty sure he like called her in the middle of the dinner too. And then the man did the worst thing that you could ever do on a first date. He brought up his ex-girlfriend, or ex-girlfriends, I should say. He brought up all of his exes and why all of them broke up and didn't work out. He even talked about how one of them, he like really felt like he like sold the bag on her. We are on a first date. That's like first date 101, what not to talk about. At this point, I'm literally just like, what is going on? Like, I'm just smiling and nodding because I'm like, this cannot get any worse. So then we get up to leave to go to this like rooftop, and I stand up and he like kisses me. I was so not ready for that. And to be honest, I was so not planning to like kiss him. I know he saw the shock in my face because after I'm like, we're also in public. I am not a PDA girl. We're walking along this pathway to this rooftop that we're headed to. He's like, I really have to pee. I'm like, okay, whatever. So he like goes just like to pee like off the trail. Weird, but whatever, I don't care. Boys will be boys. So he's peeing and I have my back turned to him, like looking in the distance. This man says to me, oh, you don't have to turn around. What? Who says that? Who says that? I'm sorry, I do not need to see the pee trickling out. No thanks. I just like laughed because I was like, what am I supposed to respond to that? We get to this rooftop. Not his fault, but we did have to take stairs like all the way up 9 floors. I was huffing and puffing. At this point though, I don't even care like what he thinks of me because I'm in my head, I'm like, this is over. So then he starts trauma dumping to me on the roof, on the verge of tears. I'm sitting there and I'm like, and then he looks in my eyes and he goes, I know I really like you because I don't even want to hook up with you right now. What? I'm like, what the fuck? He's saying these things to me and I'm like, what am I even supposed to respond with? Oh my God. But then he's like a gentleman and he orders me an Uber home. In the Uber, I'm like, thank God this is over. Oh, but it wasn't. Should I do a little part 2?
A couple of months ago, I went on the worst date I've ever been on, and this is part 2. If you haven't watched part 1, I'd recommend go watch that before this so you can get a little bit of background on this crazy horrific date. But to recap, I met this guy on the same day we met. We went on a last minute date. I was just getting ick after ick after ick after ick. The date didn't end that night, and this is part 2 to that date. A couple of days later, I had planned to go out with my friends, and he had texted me and been like, what are you doing tonight? Where are you going? My friends and I were going to this restaurant, and there was going to be a bunch of my friends there, like from different friend groups, so I was already mixing a bunch of people. Me being the inclusive person I am, I like told him like, oh, we're going to this place, like you should come. Fully thinking, 1, he wasn't gonna come because he said he had a birthday dinner, and 2, even if he did come, I wouldn't see him because there were gonna be so many people. So we're at the restaurant, vibes are good. And he texts me, are you guys still there? We're on the way right now. So we were still there, but I didn't want him to come because it was a lot smaller of a turnout than I thought it would be. So I was like, no, we just left. Thinking all was good and well, I continued with my night. My friends and I were going to meet up with our other friends at another restaurant. My friends and I were sitting in the back of the restaurant, so I get up to go to the bar to pay my tab, and I hear somebody yell, hey, Ainsley. I turn around, and my face dropped. It was him and his friends sitting at a table. So I waved, and I immediately sprinted back to my friends. Guys, we have to leave. He's here, guys. We have to go right now. I told him I wasn't here. I told my friends about this horrible date I'd been on, so they like understood why I was like low-key panicking. So we line up, and we run out the door, and we run past him, and I'm like, bye, I have to go, bye. And then he starts blowing my phone up. To preface, I know I shouldn't have lied. That was messed up. This man's reaction, texting me, why did you leave? You said you weren't here. I just saw you. Why'd you run out and not talk to me? I don't know why you would do this to me. I don't know this man. Why are you acting so dramatic? Why are you so upset? We went on 1 date. Take the hint, buddy. I don't want you. He also keeps on calling me. 15 missed calls later. So over it, I'm like, what is this guy's problem? So I pick up the call. He's going on and on about how he's so upset that I left the bar, and he's so upset I lied to him, and his friends are upset that I lied. Being the nice person I am, I let him yap for 10 minutes, hoping he would just get it out and then be done. After 15 minutes of him yelling at me as if he's my boyfriend and I just cheated on him with the whole football team, I cut him off in the middle of this rant and I'm like, why are you getting so mad? We don't even know each other. It's not that deep. You're acting like you're my boyfriend. Frankly, this is all a red flag and makes me not want to be with you at all. He's literally on the phone being like, just come outside, we can talk about this. Come outside, we can talk about this. What? Come outside? What? I didn't even want to ask because he was already freaking me out and I didn't honestly want to know the true answer. But I'm 99% sure that man was sitting outside of my building waiting for me. He has the audacity to tell me that I was overreacting. I was like, okay, this is literally going nowhere. Like, you can call me tomorrow and we can figure this out, but like, this is going nowhere. The next morning, I unfollowed him on Instagram, removed him on everything, like, do not disturb his number. I was like, bye. Story doesn't end there.
Get ready with me while I talk about the time I met a real life cannibal. So after I meet this guy, Joe, on Tinder, we start talking on Snapchat. Never had my number, thank goodness. Everything seemed like totally fine, totally normal, as it would be. I don't really know the guy. He was like, hey, do you want to come over? And I was sensing it was like a Netflix and chill situation, but my number one rule is that I don't meet with guys alone that I have never met before, and specifically that I met online. I feel like that should be a rule that everybody lives by. He asked me to come over and I was like, okay, I can totally come over. Let's watch movies, like all of that, like a little date. And I was like, well, that sounds fun, but we've never met, so can I bring my best friend, Megan? And me and Megan didn't really go anywhere without each other, so it was perfect. She was the perfect friend to come over and hang out. So we are in a college town. This guy goes to the college there. I was like either in my senior year of high school or like freshman year of college. I go over to his house and my friend Megan comes with me and we park really close to the door. Important tidbit for later. So he was like, yeah, like just park and I'll come get you. He comes and gets us. I'm like, hi, like nice to meet you, yada yada yada. He's cute in person, not like insanely attractive or anything, but cute enough. We go into his apartment. Mind you, everything's like going great. It's all normal interactions up until this point. And he's like, let's watch movies. Okay, let's do it. I love a good movie. Down for literally whatever. I'm not like a big horror fan, but he was like, let's watch a scary movie. I guess we can watch like one, that's fine, whatever. We start watching this movie, okay? And at first I'm like, oh, like the plot is interesting. The plot is interesting. It is about a cannibal. And I just didn't really think anything of it, right? It's just a movie this guy likes, it's whatever. Like said he's seen it before, so he knows if it's good or not. I obviously don't. We start watching this movie, gets a little intense. There's cannibalism involved. At this point, like we've been sitting watching it for probably like an hour, and I obviously have a small bladder and I have to pee. And he's like, yeah, totally. And like usually, you know, my friend would come with me to the bathroom, but she didn't end up coming with me to the bathroom because she was just like chilling, hanging out, you know. And I'm sure she was like asking him questions like, oh, you know, getting the tea on this guy for me, which is great. We love a friend that does that. I walk into the bathroom, okay? Everything's been completely normal up until this point, and I go to the bathroom. I didn't really look at the painting behind the toilet because like I'm peeing face the other way, whatever. Didn't really look at it. And after I'm done peeing, I like turn around, you know, wash my hands, and then I look at it and I'm like, what is that? It just kind of catches my eye, you know? Caught my eye a little on the way in, but I didn't really look at it, whatever. My brain then like draws attention to it for some reason. I go look at it. It's a little portrait, a little painting. This guy is eating someone's leg. Like, it's a big painting. I don't really remember much of it, but in the corner, there's a guy. The guy that I'm talking to, Joe, is in the corner eating someone's leg. Granted, okay, it kind of looks like him, but like, it might not be. At this point, you know, he's played a cannibal movie. I find this really weird painting, and I'm kind of spooked, because who wouldn't be? That's like 2 coincidences too many. Kind of freaking out. I'm kind of like, wait, is that him? Am I crazy? Like, he did just play a cannibal movie, but my brain like isn't connecting 2 and 2. Text my friend, and I'm like, come in the bathroom. She waddles her way in. She's like, yeah, what's up? And I tell her the tea, show her the painting, and I'm like, isn't it kind of weird that like we're watching this movie? Like, the water's on, I'm talking really quiet, I don't want this guy to hear me. She's like, what the fuck? I'm like, we have to go. We have to get out of here. So scared. Rightfully so. She's like, no, I need to know if this guy's actually a cannibal. And I was like, no you don't, no you don't, we know enough, we can go, let's get in the car. Like, this is how the horror movie plots always start. They start like this and they end like this, and you die at the end. I'm trying to whatever. If you really want to know that badly, then we can figure it out. So, like, what would a cannibal have in their house telling that they're a cannibal? This bitch says, look in the fridge. I'm gonna look in the fridge. The fridge? Girl, what? I'm like, that's like so obvious. Like, you're gonna go searching this guy's fridge, like, yeah, like, get a drink, I guess, like, whatever. She's like, it'll be easy. And I was like, okay, yeah, just like go ask him if he can like grab water. We sit down on the couch, like it's totally normal. She says, I'm gonna grab like some water from your fridge, I'm really thirsty, and like starts like walking over there, and he's like, no. He's like, I'll get it, you sit down, I'll get the water. We're not like far from the kitchen, but it's far enough that he doesn't want us going in the fridge, it seems like. So sorry, comment for part 2. Never thought I'd be making this video, but part 2, get ready with me while I talk about how I went on a Tinder date with a real life cannibal. Sorry in advance, it's really sunny in my window right now, and I'm getting ready for an event tonight. I'm gonna put my eyelashes on first. I usually never do that in my makeup routine, but self-confidence issues, I don't know if I like how I look without them. Okay, Slay, I'm good to chat about all the things. Where did I leave off? Him not wanting us to go to the fridge. Terrifying. Why was he so intense about it? I literally couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you, babe. I text her and I'm like, girl, what are we gonna do? And she's like, I still need to know, obviously. So we come up, we hatch ourselves a little plan. The plan is, we tell him she isn't feeling good and she needs her meds from the car. I, being the girl I am, didn't want to go to the parking lot by myself. You know, I'm wanting to stay with him, like I want somebody to come with me, and she's obviously not feeling well, so what are you gonna do? You're gonna ask him to come. And he was like, okay, yeah, I can come with you. He's like, you know, you didn't park very far, but I was like, please, like, come, you know, I don't want to go out there alone, like, playing the damsel in distress. I basically in that moment kind of felt like, dare I say, a wolf in sheep's clothing? Or was he? Also, please keep in mind that, like, yeah, it's totally funny right now. I'm cracking jokes, hilarious, but in that moment, I don't think I've ever felt fear like that. He agrees to come out with me to the car, and, you know, this is gonna give her 5 minutes. Like, we park close to the door, it's not gonna take very long, but she has, like, a good amount of time to be able to go check out the fridge. And I go to the car, I have, like, a bottle of ibuprofen / like, other meds. I'm pretty sure I had, like, antibiotics or something, I don't know what it was. Those, we walk out, we come back to the apartment. During this time, my phone is going off, you know, I'm feeling it, I'm getting some buzzes. Since I'm like talking with him, obviously I didn't want to be rude, and simultaneously I didn't want him to see the messages. Get there, back into the apartment, he goes to the bathroom, and my friend's face is like, she's like, you know, silent mind reading thing that girlies do. Oh shit, okay, she found something. She doesn't tell me what it is over text. She tells me it's bad. I was like, Mach 10 level bad? She's like, Mach 15. She tells me what she found, and I'm gagged. I can't even believe it. So I make an excuse to him, and I say, oh, like, you know, we're tired, she's not really feeling good, we're gonna go. And he was like, oh, like, you're not gonna stay, like, I don't know, kind of being pushy a little bit. He wants us to stay, and at this time, I'm all hands on deck, red lights, blaring alarms in my mind. I've seen enough red flags in horror movies to know this is when you get out. We might be too late, but luckily we weren't. She tells me everything in the car. Mind, I've known this girl since high school, early years of it. I have not seen her scared like that in my life. And I've seen her do some pretty crazy things. She just looks at me and she's like, we were going to die. And that sets in. That fear sets in. Girl, what do you mean? Yeah, I've obviously seen enough. I've seen enough to be shitting my pants, but I couldn't even believe it. She tells me she opened the fridge. There was a crock pot in there. Searches the whole fridge, and then eyes land on this crock pot with a lid. She decides to look inside. Opens it. There is a fucking finger in there. A digit in a dark colored liquid. I don't know if he was saving it for later. Fucking terrifying. Whose was it? Whose was it? She didn't want to go fishing and find something even crazier. So she said that's all she saw. That's enough to make me run, to move out the country. This guy knows who I am. He knows who she is. He was going to take us somewhere. I can't even believe that. A Tinder date. The aftermath of that, she called the police. She reported what she saw. Had seen the newspaper. Months later, local cannibal. Girls, this is a reason why you never go on a Tinder date alone, not in a public place. Just alone in general. Make sure somebody knows where you are at all times. Somebody has your location. You told someone you're safe. That's the scariest thing out of all of this. Is if I would have gone alone, what would have happened to me? Stay safe out there, girls.
So I guess Tinder horror stories are all the rave right now, and I think this one's going to be tough to beat, okay? So I was talking to this girl for a couple days. We decided to get together, go out and get an appetizer. So I meet her, she looks like her photo's perfect. We sit down, and without me getting a word in, this girl starts going off, telling me about how most of her family members are in mental institutions with schizophrenia. Then she tells me this morbid story about watching her best friend die because he was driving drunk. Then she tells me that if she was to ever get pregnant, that she would keep it if it's a boy, but she wouldn't keep it if it's a girl, because she doesn't want to raise a girl in this society. So at this point, I excuse myself to the washroom, and I'm standing there looking at myself in the mirror, like, bro, like, you should just leave. Just walk out the door, it's fine. But I was like, no, I invited her out. I'm going to see this through. I'll, like, pay the bill. So I go sit back down, and the food comes, and I've had, like, 2 or 3 bites, and she goes, do you know what eczema is? And I'm like, yeah, that's like that rash that people get. She's like, yeah, so I have that on my feet. And I'm like, oh, like, sorry? Like, whatever, like, it's not a big deal, people get it. And she's like, want to see? I'm like, no, not really, like, I'm eating right now. And she pulls out her phone and she starts showing me photos of the most disgusting, rotten feet I have ever seen. Oh, I'm still so traumatized. Anyway, I'm like, please stop. Like, I don't want to see this right now. And she just, like, keeps putting the phone in my face. Me like, no, look. And at this point, I'm like, this is a prank. Like, somebody has hired her. Maybe she knows one of my exes or something like that. Like, there's no way. But she just wouldn't stop. So anyway, I'd like, get the bill, pay it, and I'm like, it's time to go. So I'm waiting with her for her Uber to come at this point. And now she's, like, trying to come home with me. And I'm like, no, like, this did not go well. Like, it's time for you to leave.
My friend went on a date last night that was so fucking brutal that I had to bring it to TikTok immediately, mostly because it's a funny story, but also as a warning to the women in Toronto that this man is walking our streets, ladies. I'm gonna preface this by saying my friend is very good looking and not insecure. She meets a guy on Hinge and she vets him. They talk on the phone every day for a week, they FaceTime, whatever, and then eventually they decide to go out for dinner. Last night, they go to Myth. Everything's going well, except when they sit down, there's a table of girls next to their table, and the guy keeps talking to the table of girls. Gets to the point where every time my friend goes to the bathroom, the guy is over at the girls' table, or one of the girls is over at her table. It happens multiple times, and one of the girls says to my friend, oh, you're so hot, don't worry about this. Meaning, you're so hot, don't worry that the guy you're on a first date with is talking to this table of girls and at their table every time you take a pee. It's multiple times, and then the guy says to my friend, sorry, those girls are just pumping my tires, as in complimenting me so much. Like, eventually he goes, are you mad? And she's like, I just think it's strange on a first date to not just say, thank you, ladies, but I'm on a first date, and not for anything, but like those girls are kind of whack too, because why would you go up to a table of a girl on a date with a guy and just hit on the guy all night? That's insane. Every time she goes to the bathroom, like go and sit with him or make him come sit with you, like that's fucking bizarre too. But anyway, they get in a miniature fight, they get over it. He goes, let me drive you home. She's like, okay. Get in the car and he goes, it's so funny how mad you got when those girls were hitting on me. And she's like, yeah, sorry, I think it's crazy you were talking to them. And he goes, you didn't even thank me for dinner. She's like, yeah, maybe I forgot to thank you for dinner because I was too busy wondering what the fuck was going on. And then he brings up something else. Like he's trying to fight with her. And then she goes, you know what, man? I don't even know you. I'm not doing this with you. Just let me out here. They're like on the side of the highway. Like they're at Queens Quay and Jarvis. Like she gets out at the Loblaws. Calls an Uber. The Uber takes 17 minutes to come. So by the time the Uber's there, she's like crying. She gets in the car. The Uber driver's like, oh my God, are you okay? Uber driver literally comforts her the whole way home, like is just like, tell me what happened. God bless Uber drivers and cab drivers. I used to be an Uber driver and the shit people would tell me in my Uber, fucking grown men crying about their divorces. It's crazy. Anyway, Uber driver takes her home, walks her to her door. It's like, don't worry, this ride was on me. Your night was bullshit and fuck that guy. A, never use paying for dinner against someone on a date. Just don't go on a date then if you don't like that custom. B, if you need the girls at the next table to gas your tires while you're already on a date with a hot girl to feel like a fucking man, I can't help you. That's just insecurity. And he said to my friend, oh, you're just insecure, like gaslit her. No, she's not. She's the hottest fucking loser.
Picture this. You're going on a date with an absolute fucking dreamboat. You're going on a 5th date with someone who literally checks all of the boxes. And you're like, where have you been? And maybe they have a few red flags, but you're like, no, stop, I don't want to see it, right? You're going on a 5th date, dressed to the fucking nines, feeling real good about yourself. And when you're at the restaurant, this man is showing clear interest. He's putting his arm around you. He's touching your leg. He's getting real close when he's talking to you. And you're like, sir, if you don't stop, I'm gonna need a new skirt because the floodgates are opening. Stop, right? He's PDAing all over the fucking restaurant. He's showing the whole restaurant that you're his, and it's so hot and attractive, and you're like, the sparks are flying, the chemistry is chemistrying, this is so romantic, I'm having such a nice time, right? So the plan after dinner was to walk back to his place because it was fairly close, but it was a little brisk, it was a little cold outside. He's like, Aubrey, your lips are fucking purple, like you're shivering, we should probably just get a car. And I was like, you care about me, stop. Okay, so we get a car, we go back to his place. And he's showing me all of his little trinkets, telling me where he got them. And then he starts showing me his projects and telling me what really motivates him and like showing me what he does for a living. And I'm like, you want to be the father of my children. Why are you showing me that you can be a provider? Stop. Okay, it was the 5th date. We hadn't done anything yet. He passed the grip test. Ladies, you know what I'm talking about with the grip test, okay? Passed the grip test. Tonight may have been the night, right? So he says, do you want to smoke a blunt? And I said, sure. So we smoke a blunt. We're having a good time. We're laughing. And then finally, we get to the bedroom. And I'm like, this is going to be great. This is going to be awesome. And I was wrong, okay? Sparks were dead. I was like, where did they go? Come back. Where's the chemistry? Let's make some potions or something. Like, what's happening? This is terrible. It was awkward. It was quiet. It was dry. It was dry. Okay, never fucking smoke a blunt for the first time doing the deed because it will never do you right. Okay, there was plenty of times that I had to stop him and say, can you get me the water on the nightstand? Because I need it. Like, I turned into fucking SpongeBob when he needed the fucking water, okay? She needed the water. I wanted to take the bottle and squeeze it up my fucking vagina to get it moist again, right? At one point, it was so quiet that I was like, can you say something to me? And he was like, what do you want me to say? And I was like, oh God, you don't get it. Never mind. It was so weird, so uncomfortable. After the deed was done, I was sitting in a pool of regret. I was thinking about all of the things that had happened, all the great chemistry that we had and how it didn't translate to the physical chemistry. And I was like, oh my God, what just happened? This could not get any worse. Am I gonna see this person again? I have no idea. And as I'm thinking those things, this man starts to get up out of bed and literally starts singing. And I still haven't found what I'm looking for. And I still haven't found what this man starts singing this right after we just had sex, okay? And I literally thought to myself, sir, what are you looking for? What are you looking for? Because you just had your little pee-pee inserted in my vajayjay. What the fuck are you singing that for? And I haven't seen him since. So that was my worst dating experience.
I just went on a first date. And honestly, I am fucking traumatized. I'm traumatized. There's a reason why I'm feeling that way. So let me fucking tell you. I match with a lady. Let's say her name is Priyanka. You know, just for anonymity. I match with Priyanka. And I see her profile. I'm like, wow, what a cute lady. Very beautiful. So attractive. And she sends me a message. She goes, hello. How are you doing today? And I'm like, I'm fine. Thank you very much. How are you? And she's like, I'm good too. I said, your bio made me laugh. She said, thanks. You too. Her bio said, it's either this or an arranged marriage with the emoji. So I thought it was funny and I responded to that. So she's talking about her family. She's talking about her roots. And we both have something in common that, you know, both of our families are from parts of India. Could you have guessed? We exchanged a few messages back and forth. And then she said, hey, you should text me. Let's get off this fucking app. And I said, say no more, lady. I will send a message to the 10-digit code that you have provided to me today. And I will message you. She said, sounds great. I look forward to it. So I text her. So we're texting for a couple of days. Things are pretty steady. I asked her to FaceTime me. We FaceTime. She was real. You must be thinking, Zogar, why do you say she's real? Why are you surprised? Because guess what? The last fucking date I went on, somebody didn't fucking look like their goddamn pictures. That's why. So I said, hey lady, we should FaceTime. And she said, okay, sounds good. She was real. While we're talking on FaceTime, she's telling me about her favorite foods. She's like, yeah, I love Indian food. I'm like, me too. What a coincidence. So then I was like, hey, let's grab Indian food. Let's do it. First date, bold move, right? Nothing can go wrong with just Indian food, right? Wrong. I plan to meet with Priyanka at 6:30 this evening. I show up 10 minutes early because I want to scope out the place, scope out the area, make sure there are no fucking serial killers around while I eat Indian food, okay? I walk back to my car, get on TikTok to kill a few minutes of time before I'm planning to meet Priyanka for our first date. She ends up texting me saying, hey, I'm here! Exclamation point, smiley face. And then I respond, no need to yell, lady. I'm on my way. I'm right here as well. She said, okay, I'll come meet you out front of the restaurant. I said, sounds good. So I see her and she looks great. I give her a hug. I'm like, hey, so glad we got to do this. I'm Zakir. She said, hi, I'm Priyanka. So glad we got to do this too. And she said, let's go on in. I held the door open and she was walking in front of me and she said, oh, this is where our table is. So we're walking towards our table and I'm just following her. And she then uses her hand and gestures like, oh, this is our table. And I see two people that are sitting at our table. I'm like, who's sitting at our table? And there's a table of 4 here. And she's like, oh, this is my mom and my dad. And I'm like, hello, how are you doing? I was not prepared for this moment in life. There was no way that she had brought her mom and dad with her on a first date. I'm like, that's it. This is my arranged marriage. I cannot hide from this moment in time. My love life expired. There is officially an end date to my dating career. What is happening? So Priyanka's dad is sitting across from me at the table. Priyanka's mom is sitting to my right. Priyanka is sitting diagonally from me. And I could already tell that Priyanka's dad, for some reason or another, does not like that I'm here or even he's here. And he looks at me and he says, so I see that you're interested in my daughter. And I'm like, hello, uncle. Actually, we met on Bumble and she made the first move and sent a message to me. So I think it's a little bit mutual. He said, okay, what do you do for work? And I'm like, please don't say TikTok. Please don't say TikTok. Please don't say TikTok. I tell him what I do for work. And right as I'm about to say my profession, he goes, are you a doctor? And I'm like, he caught me off guard because I wasn't expecting him to cut me off. And I said, no. He said, are you a lawyer? I said, no. He said, do you have any form of medical school degree? I said, no. He said, then what do you do? I'm like, oh my God, is this an interrogation room or a date? I wasn't even sure. So I tell him what I do for work and also mention that I do content creation on the side. And he looks at me with a very stern face, like, and I'm like, oh shit, I don't think this is going well at all. He said, can you call your parents to come join us? I said, what? Bro, I can't. I said, first, no, because they're not local. And second of all, I thought this was a fucking date with me and Priyanka. Had no idea that the parents were going to come involved and we're going to arguably set up an arranged marriage on the first date. So I told him, I was like, oh, so sorry. Like, my parents aren't nearby and they won't be able to make it. So then he said, okay, our time here is done. Priyanka, let's go. And Priyanka gets up, her mom gets up, the dad gets up, and they all are walking out of the restaurant. I was like, what just happened? I thought I was, what? So I haven't heard from Priyanka. I don't know what is happening. So I thought I'd tell TikTok, and honestly, maybe it's a sign that things weren't going to work out. So, on to the next first date. Bye-bye. Ta-da.
First date horror stories.
I went on a date. This guy asked me out on a date maybe 20 times. Finally, I was like, sure. We literally get probably one of every appetizer, and then like we each get an entree, maybe a third entree just to like try it out. And then he's like, it's time for dessert. Let's like pick. I'm like, honestly, I am so stuffed. I've never been more full. Like, I am good.
Yeah.
He's like, no. Let's get the dessert.
It's like, eat it.
I'm like, okay. And then he gets a fucking phone call. He does not come back 20 minutes. And I'm like, I don't know what the phone call's about. So I get up and I go outside, quite literally gone. I have not seen or heard from that man since. He's blocked me on every social media. The bill was literally probably $1,600.
So, did you pay it?
Yes, I had to pay it.
What's his name?
His name is Justin.
What's his last name?
Nick's already pulling out his phone.
There was another story that went round about a girl that got with a guy in a bar.
Okay.
And a couple of days later, she discovers this sore/growth in her mouth. Growth.
In the mouth.
Growth.
Something growing.
Something growing in her mouth.
Just trying to get the image in my head.
Just a visual.
Yeah, just visualize it. Yeah.
So she goes to her friends and they're like, oh, maybe it can be an STD. You should go to the doctor.
Okay.
So she goes to the doctor and the doctor says that the diagnosis was a sore generated by eating decaying flesh. So in summary, she has kissed someone that is a potential necrophiliac and has caught the germs from a corpse.
And now that corpse is growing in your mouth.
The possible worst sloppy seconds we could imagine.
Disgusting. What do you do?
What do you do? What do you actually do?
Not even mouthwash. I'll tell doctor, please take my mouth off. I don't want my mouth. I don't want my mouth no more. Take it off.
Welcome to our Halloween.
Literally, I don't want it. That's scary.
Isn't it?
Where did you find the guy?
I don't know. I'd never want to see him again.
No.
That's dark. That's horrible.
So let me tell you another dating horror story, because I have way too many not to share. You know, this story happened like 2 or 3 years ago, so I can't exactly remember everything, but there's a few things that you just don't forget. So I matched with this guy on Bumble, and we just have a vibe. So we start like video chatting every night, and he's like showing me his dog, and like we talk all day, and he's sending me pictures of his dog and like just telling me about his life, and we just like have a really nice vibe. We clearly are like very into each other. After a week or so of talking, we decide to go on a date, and I'm like all happy because I'm into this guy, and I'm thinking like this may be the one, like I always do, by the way. So it gets to the morning of the date, and I haven't heard anything from him yet. It gets to the time of the date, and he still hasn't said anything, even though I sent him a message earlier asking if like we're still up for meeting. And at this point, I'm like really confused at what's happening, because he looked like he was really interested. So after a few hours, he sends me a message and says that his dog ate chocolate and he had to go to the vet. And I'm just like, I'm not believing that story. A part of me was like, that is not true. But I just thought, do you know what? That's fine. I'll keep talking to him. So we keep chatting for another week, and then we decide to go on another date and try to actually have a date this time. When it gets to the first date and he actually shows up, I feel like we had a good connection, and there was like good conversation going on, and I found him attractive. So I thought, well, there's definitely going to be a second date. So we video chat for like maybe a week or two before he asked me on a second date. So we had like normal conversations. Everything was good. There was no reasons for anything for him to just like, stop talking to me. Apart from the fact that I wore glasses on the last video chat that we had, and I am very much blind, so I need to have contacts or glasses to be able to see. And I don't know, his reaction was kind of weird when I put my glasses on that video chat. And after that, it was like the day after it was our date. So I don't know if it is related, but I'm just saying that is what happened. To be fair, that can come from my insecurities, but I don't know. So it gets to the day of the second date, and this guy says nothing to me. Again, he ghosts me again, and this time he doesn't even reply to my messages. He just doesn't talk to me ever again till 2 or 3 months ago, where he sends me a message after 3 or 4 years. Like, are you insane? What is happening with people? God.
So I will never be using Hinge again. Hinge, if you're watching this, it's not because of you, but it is because of the men that you allow on your site. So basically what had happened was I got invited on a date, and I was like, sure, why not? Move to a new city, and I want to experience new things. Worst decision of my life. We'll call him Greg. Greg was like, okay, come to my house before, and then we can meet up at my house, and then I'll drive us. And I was like, all right, bet, because your girl is broke. I'm not trying to waste my gas. Anyways, I pull up, and when I get there, he's like, let's take my dog on a walk first, because he needs to be on a walk. So I get there, and we take his dog on a walk. We're walking, like strolling. Get back to his house, and there's a car waiting in the driveway. It's a girl. She rolls down the window, starts screaming at me, not even at him, at me, and it's like, who the fuck are you, bitch? Like, I'm his motherfucking girlfriend. Like, who the fuck do you think you are, bitch? I'm like, what is going on? I do not know who you are. Then she starts swinging at me. I'm like, girl, I cannot fight. Like, I'm telling you right now, you will beat me up. Like, you will win. Don't fight me. She doesn't care at this point, and she is taking it all out on me and not on him. So then I start running back to my car because I'm like, what is going on? Like, this girl is literally with all of her friends, like, literally, like, they're, like, fighting me.
So I guess Tinder horror stories are all the rave right now, and I think this one's going to be tough to beat, okay? So I was talking to this girl for a couple days. We decided to get together, go out and get an appetizer. So I meet her, she looks like her photo's perfect. We sit down, and without me getting a word in, this girl starts going off telling me about how most of her family members are in mental institutions with schizophrenia. Then she tells me this morbid story about watching her best friend die because he was driving drunk. Then she tells me that if she was to ever get pregnant, that she would keep it if it's a boy, but she wouldn't keep it if it's a girl, because she doesn't want to raise a girl in this society. So at this point, I excuse myself to the washroom, and I'm standing there looking at myself in the mirror, like, bro, like, you should just leave. Just walk out the door, it's fine. But I was like, nope, I invited her out. I'm going to see this through. I'll, like, pay the bill. So I go sit back down, and the food comes, and I've had, like, 2 or 3 bites, and she goes, do you know what eczema is? And I'm like, yeah, that's like that rash that people get. She's like, yeah, so I have that on my feet. And I'm like, oh, like, sorry? Like, whatever, like, not a big deal, people get it. And she's like, want to see? I'm like, no, not really, like, I'm eating right now. And she pulls out her phone and she starts showing me photos of the most disgusting, rotten feet I have ever seen. Oh, I'm still so traumatized. Anyway, I'm like, please stop, like, I don't want to see this right now. And she just, like, keeps putting the phone in my face and me like, no, look. And at this point, I'm like, this is a prank. Like, somebody has hired her. Maybe she knows one of my exes or something like that. Like, there's no way. But she just wouldn't stop. So anyway, I'd like, get the bill, pay it, and I'm like, it's time to go. So I'm waiting with her for her Uber to come at this point. And now she's, like, trying to come home with me. And I'm like, no, like, this did not go well. Like, it's time for you to leave.
Here's why you should always look up the guy you're going on a date with before you go on the date. One time I was out with my friends and I see this guy, really cute, looking at me. He ends up coming up to me and he asks me to go to dinner. Go to this great dinner. He's asking me a ton of like get to know you questions. He asked me what my job is. I'm a photographer. It's like, oh wow, that's so cool. Just to see my work, etc. As the dinner went on, he started to ask me more questions where I felt like he already knew the answer to. So I'm like, maybe he just looked me up on Instagram before or whatever. I go home and I'm FaceTiming with my best friend and I'm telling her about the date and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna look him up now. So I find his Instagram and as soon as I see the username, my stomach sinks. I'm like, I've seen this username before. I click on the messages. He has messaged me like 45 times in the past 5 years, responding to stories about my photography, my friends, everything he asked me questions about like he didn't know the answer to. I don't know why he couldn't just tell me that he was following me before, but I got super creeped out.